You're listening to the Plain Talking UK podcast, the UK-based podcast written by a passenger for anyone. And here are your hosts, Carla Stebbings, Matt Smith and Neville Bounds.
And more people on top of that, but we can't make him do a new intro every week.
Well, hello and welcome to episode number 207 of the Plain
I just like
Talking
putting you off your stride. It's
UK
brilliant.
podcast. Yeah, you do it so well. I am Carl Stebbings, and joining me in the barn studio, because we are still in the barn studio, although work will be commencing tomorrow on the new studio.
On the new studio, very exciting.
So welcome, Matt. How are you?
Hello. Yes, I'm very good, thank you. How are you?
Oh, good. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So have you been still relegated to the spare room? Because you've still got your man flu.
Well, no, I'm in the main master room.
Okay.
And Gemma's in the spare room.
Oh, dear.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Now I have a question that I need to ask.
What's that?
No. It's nothing to do with you two. It's fine. But when you two are sleeping in different rooms because of the requirements, obviously, of bad colds and all that kind of thing, who does Poppycat choose to go and stay with?
Well, Poppy does obviously choose to be with the leader. That's me, her daddy. Yeah, she sides with her daddy. She loves to spend her time with me.
That's award winning. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna. You realise I'm gonna record that and send that as a WhatsApp
fine.
to Gemma.
That's
obviously.
fine. That's fine. No, she's very loyal. Is Poppy
Right?
Yeah.
And the wife. Yes. Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's based on the fact that Gemma gives her cat food and I give her tuna.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Anyway,
so joining us as well this week, as always, is our amazing Mr. King of Tech himself. It's Neville Bounds.
Hello. Yes, here we are again. It's Friday, and what a week it's been. Very hectic for me at work. Very full on. I'm actually very glad it's the end of the week now. A bit tired, but looking forward to a great show, of course.
so fingers crossed he'll make it through to the end of the show.
Looking forward to a lay-in tomorrow. I think that's,
planning on,
yeah.
Do you actually have an opportunity for a lay-in, Nev? Is this
not tomorrow? No, we're off to Birmingham tomorrow to the Jewellery Quarter to choose some rings.
Oh, and am I allowed to ask why, or are we not allowed to?
Yes, well, the person we call Mrs. Nev is going to be the real Mrs. Nev,
right?
On the 12th of June this year.
Wow! Oh, there's a date.
So,
and everything. Well, congratulations! Sir.
Congratulations!
Yeah.
We thought we'd go and buy some Tom. And,
right. Okay.
Yeah. So looking forward to it.
Oh, brilliant!
That's very exciting.
Thank you very much indeed.
I shall go and get me frock dry clean, specially. Yeah, absolutely. Indeed.
So we have got two very special guest hosts joining us on the show tonight. He's back by popular demand. He is the king of all things Airbus and the master of Acme Red. It's Captain Nick.
Hi, boys. I Nav. Great to be back on your show.
Thank
It's a real treat for me because I can get to do a show and have to be polite for a while.
Oh, right, yes, just for a little while. Yeah, it's all right.
Yeah.
It's fine. Anything goes apart from swearing. It's all fine. So you're in a slightly exotic location this week.
I wouldn't exactly call New Jersey exotic, but I'm sure there are some exotic clubs around here.
Right, okay.
Do you want to go and find one so I can broadcast
Right,
from
yeah,
there?
why not? Yeah, I've
I've got to say, Nick, the decor in that room is very yellow.
1950s.
1950s.
Very
yeah,
yellow.
Very yellow.
Yeah, I think your next guest knows this hotel well, and it is a little tired, to say the least.
Right.
However, it is in a very historic place because just out of my window there, I can look at the water where Sully ditched his Airbus.
Wow.
And right outside, literally a stone's throw from the entrance of the hotel, is the ferry that'll take you across to Manhattan. And one of the ferries that come here are the ones that went and rescued the passengers off the Miracle in the Hudson ditching. So it's actually a fascinating place to be.
Wow. No, it's very cool, and I mean, well, I didn't quite get over to where you are, but I did do the old Staten Island ferry when I was over that way back in November. So yeah, it's I love
that's a must, man. That's a great little journey.
I genuinely am so excited that hopefully I'm going back again in November. I literally cannot wait. So with a bit of luck, who knows, you might be there as well, and we can catch you. You can take me to your favourite shop, which I still have wet dreams about, if I'm brutally honest. It is the greatest shop that God has ever created. I'm not going to lie. It's
absolutely a great spot.
So we have one other special guest joining us on the show. It's his first time on the show, and we're going to welcome. He is he's a very big fan of everything Boeing.
Oh right,
because if it's Boeing, he's definitely going. And it's First Officer Mike.
Hello. How are we all? We're very well on this, I say it's fine day. I've been in Birmingham, so it hasn't been fine to start with, but it's ended not so badly.
Okay, so which exotic part of the world are you calling in from, sir?
I'm in sunny. I'd say you could have a look at the camera, but sadly the internet is being exceptionally up.
Indeed, yes.
Indeed.
He says as he keeps breaking up. Yes. Okay.
I was going to say he's Skyping out, but we can't say that
because
we're not using Skype this week.
We're not using Skype. No, absolutely.
Well, thanks for joining us, Mike.
I think I'm back.
You are. Yes, it's all right. That's good. Yes.
You're going to have to tell the kids to stay off the YouTube today.
Lock away the tablet.
I seem to have moved further away from the router, and like I said earlier on, the whole of West London seems to be downloading Netflix and chill tonight. So
okay.
I'm trying to make do with what I've got.
Oh, no, at all. We'll soldier on, don't worry.
I think what it is, Matt, is that so many people around Mike in London are currently watching
the show. Right, I see. Okay. That'll be what it is, of course. Absolutely.
So we've got loads of people joining us in the chat room, as always, tonight. Loads of people in there, busy chatting amongst themselves. They've been in there waiting patiently for the show to start. We've got Richard King, Liz Piper, we've got Shorty Crosgrove, Don, Sebastian, the pre-buy guy is in there. Liz Piper, Andrew Wilson is also in the chat room. Lane Street. We've got Neville Bounds, he's also in the chat room. Falco, Falco's in the chat room. We've got Masha. Hello, Masha. Greetings to you. Jonathan Warner's in the chat room, hoping that we've got some grey stuff on the show this week.
Okay, have we got some grey stuff on the show this week?
We have. Yes, we have. Rick Bell. Yeah, hello, greetings to you, Rick, as well. And I'm just scrolling on. Jenny Parkinson's in the chat room. We've got a little bit of feedback.
We have indeed. Yeah, she was just to set you up for that. There's she was chatting to her friend Diana, who's recently just come back from a trip on Norwegian. Yeah, absolutely. Is it Norwegian? Norwegian. Because I keep saying Norwegian, and I keep getting told off.
And we've got Graham Haley as well in the chat room. So thanks everyone for joining us this evening. So we have got just a little bit of housekeeping to do at the top of the show, as we do at this time of the month, so we'll hand things over to Nev.
Yeah, and of course we can't do this show without you, so thank you very much for your fantastic contributions to the Patreon fund. And those people are Adrian Meacham, Nick Anderson, Captain Jeff, Stephanie Plummer, Stuart Black, Liz Piper, Jonathan Warner, Evan Shue, Adam Spink, Matt Donnemeyer, Jeff Ward, Ben Todd, York Moeller, Philip Labe, Andrew Wilson, Graham Haley, Matt Caton, David Humphreys, Eric Graves, Jordan Rose, Steve Andress, Matthew Bunting Frame, Myla, Ryan Harper, Stuart Backer, and Ray Williams. Thank you to everybody for your great contributions. It makes a big difference to the things that we can do on the show.
Certainly does.
Certainly does.
Difference. Yeah,
and if you want to become a patron of the show, just take yourselves over to the website. That's allthews.plaintalkinguk.com. You can just click on the link on there, or you can make a one-off donation via PayPal. We don't care. But we really, really do appreciate all of that.
Don't forget, if you are an Amazon user as well, you can actually take yourself to our website. On that front page there is a special link. You click on that, it'll take you to the Amazon page. Anything that you buy through that, we get a small referral fee, essentially. So
I used it last night.
So you can actually, without having to physically spend money other than what you were buying already, you can also help the show out, because Amazon is great for fantastic new leads and wires and all that kind of thing, which we're going to need lots of, obviously, as the build to the studio
begins
commences tomorrow. So yes, very excited. So hopefully in a few weeks' time we will be in our new studio.
Be nice, won't it, Matt? We had a bit of a delivery from the TriStar van today,
the TriStar van
of wood and various bits and pieces. So work will commence tomorrow morning.
Indeed.
And make sure you got the kettle on, Matt.
I will, absolutely. What time have I got to get out of bed?
Oh, about 9:30.
Oh dear. It's against all of my religions. I might be up earlier than Nev at this rate.
So we are going to start the show then, as we do each week, with our rundown of the weekly news from around the world and the UK. So if you're ready, Matt?
I am, yes.
If you're ready, Nev?
Yes, totally.
Nick?
I think so, yeah. Hang on a minute. No, yes, I'm ready.
He's ready. And Mike, are you still there?
I'm still here.
Excellent. Excellent.
So, hopefully.
Let's go.
Okay.
So, kicking off this week's first news story then, and this one is on the standard.co.uk.
Standard? Is that the Evening Standard?
The Evening Standard.co.uk. And we
love... I go for all my aviation news,
I know.
Yeah.
It's the go-to place.
Right.
And for most of you will know about the women, the kind of the females of the aviation kind of piloting persuasion. It's been obviously a big week this week, obviously for the national all-female crews and stuff. I know a lot of the airlines have been doing this. BA have done it.
It was the International Women's Day.
That's it. But BA have done some of this, and there's quite a few airlines around the globe have actually done all-female crews and female ground staff as well. But to celebrate International Women's Day, Thomas Cook Airlines here in the UK have piloted an all-female flight from Manchester to Gran Canaria. The captain, first officer and 7 crew, along with engineers and ground staff, were all females, as were the NATS air traffic controllers who cleared the Airbus A321 aircraft with 202 customers on board for takeoff. The flight was captained by Jane Paros, who's been flying since 1990, with First Officer Berglind Raffensdorje, Teasdale.
I beg your pardon.
I know. And First Officer Victoria McCarthy. The crew comprised of Victoria Starkey, Faye Emanuel, Lindsay Dixon, Stephanie Ashell, Susan Johnson, Victoria Britland, and Kerry Adrio. Move Thomas Cook will inspire more women to get into the aviation industry, as the UK Civil Aviation Authority says that 570 of the British industry's 9,846 pilots and co-pilots are women, just under 6%. So in conjunction with the flight, Thomas Cook have announced that they are partnering with Aviation and Airline Pilot Academy, FTE Jerez, in launching a scholarship program to attract more women to piloting. The scholarship was launched in memory of French pilot Elise Raymonde de la Roche, the first woman ever to receive a pilot's license 108 years ago. This week on the 8th of March 1910 she got that. So open for all female applicants. Successful candidates will be trained at FTE Jerez as part of the Thomas Cook Airlines Mentored Cadet Pilot Training Program. Female pilots entering the program will be eligible to apply for a €30,000 or £26,775 scholarship, which will be offset against their training costs at FTE Jerez. And inspiring female pilots will also be able to apply for the scholarship every year for the next 5 years. And this is really good news, I think, with
yes
the
and no.
scholarships and stuff.
I have a small issue with this.
What women pilots?
No,
I hope not.
No. Completely opposite than that. What makes me feel very sad is that this is still a thing. It shouldn't matter about your gender or anything like that. It should just be that if you are good enough, or if you're, there shouldn't, it shouldn't be like, gender relevant. I mean, it still makes me feel really sad that this is still a thing.
We have it in our business as well. We actually have a group set up now called Women in AV.
Yeah.
And it's a shame that we even need to have one.
I agree.
Why isn't there the equality that there should be?
No,
So
Well,
Nick,
I have to agree, but I'm also a little bit dubious from another aspect. The fact that they say that there's going to be a scholarship worth $26,775. That is a fraction of the cost of the total training. So these female pilots that they're encouraging will still have to fork out somewhere in the region of 750,000. How much? No, 75,000.
They've still got to find a huge amount of money in order to be able to.
So they're only going
participate.
about a quarter of the way, and that's assuming that this company, are a reasonably priced company, because they kind of got a choice of one, haven't they? And if they're charging top dollar, then that's going to make their training still very, very expensive.
And that donation, if you like, that they're getting as part of the scholarship doesn't go anywhere near as far, perhaps, if it is a more expensive outfit, I suppose.
So,
it's a funny
I mean, it's great headline news, but I don't know if it really cures the problem of getting more pilots into aviation. I really don't think it's really quite enough.
Do you have many female pilots in Acme Red, Nick? Do you fly with many female pilots?
Yes, we have a reasonable percentage. I don't say we're the best airline by a long chalk, but we do have a reasonable percentage. I think we mounted 3 all-female flights on International Women's Day. So we managed to crew 3 entire aircraft, and they all got their publicity. The one I read about went off to Dubai, which was an interesting destination for an all-female crew, which I thought was very good.
Some might argue brave. I don't know.
I'm not going to go there.
No. It's just I can think of perhaps slightly more friendlier locations for an all-female crew, perhaps that they could have gone to. He says.
Yes, I'm wondering if they chose that destination on purpose.
Well, and if they did, in some respects, I doff my cap to them because, as you say, it sort of highlights the issue rather beautifully. So before we move on to the next story, a couple of little bits of things I've noticed in the chat room. One, Neil Landwarn is saying that I'm home, I've got beer, permission to commence show has been granted. So good news.
Good.
We're allowed to start. And we were talking about the building of the studio a little bit earlier before we started. There's been some grave concern at the fact that Nev isn't actually here tomorrow to help us with the build. I want to set everybody's minds at rest. Okay, we're just building the box. When it comes to actually building the studio, Nev will be thoroughly involved. Nobody panic. We want a good studio too, so don't panic.
Yeah, it's going to be fine, isn't it?
Yeah,
so,
absolutely. Yeah, so don't panic.
Let you lads do all
the horrible
wood,
stuff.
Yeah, I don't mind.
Absolutely.
And
then we'll wheel in Nev for all the tech stuff. Don't panic. We're not going to do it ourselves. Don't panic.
So moving on to the next story, Matt. This is a kind of Brexit kind of story for you.
Oh, really?
Ish.
Oh, you had me very nervous at the word Brexit. I was just like, here we go. Anyway, so obviously story 2 can mean only one thing. It's on the independent.co.uk, and it is, of course, a Ryanair story. And the headline is, Ryanair will keep flying through Brexit until 2021, says airline executive. Well, isn't that fabulous news? So Europe's biggest budget airline has softened its warnings on Brexit. Ryanair now says you won't see planes grounded after the 29th of March 2019, the date the UK leaves the EU, but it still fears open skies may not continue beyond 2020. The Irish airline has its main base of operations in the UK, taking advantage of the policy that allows any EU carrier to fly anywhere within Europe or the European Union. Last August, the chief executive Michael O'Leary said that we haven't got a plan B, we haven't even got a plan A and a half yet. But Ryanair's chief marketing officer Kenny Jacobs has told The Independent, we think good progress has been made in the past 2 months. The British government has sent out their blueprint for transition, and that's some positive signs for the industry. This means that until the end of December 2020, the status quo remains the same. What happens after the transition agreement from the 1st of January 2021 is less certain. The signals are more negative than we would like. A number of airlines are concerned about how ownership rules could affect them after Brexit. An EU airline must be over 50% EU owned. I wonder why that is. Anyway, once the UK leaves with its present shareholder structure, Ryanair would fall short of this proportion. Its leading rival, EasyJet, has already announced it is setting up an Austrian subsidiary to allow it to continue to fly intra-EU routes after Brexit. Mr. Jacobs said, we want to continue to offer British consumers the cheapest flights, but he added that with very movable assets, we're in 34 countries. Ryanair has announced that it will continue its Stansted to Edinburgh link through the winter, but is not restoring the Glasgow service from the Essex report. And that actually was a story we covered last week, wasn't it? That they're going to do that. I don't know. I just get very annoyed every time the word Brexit is mentioned. It's just like, I swear Carlos does it to annoy me on purpose.
There's an airline not far from me that might suffer similar problems because that particular airline's owned 49% by an American company, and another significant portion owned by a country in Europe. So
Right.
I don't know quite how that's going to work once we achieve Brexit.
Well, it's not actually gone through yet, though, has it? They're still waiting on the European Commission, aren't they, for the to.
Oh, exactly right.
through.
But it could be a bit of an embarrassment if the decision is made, a certain way.
Well, I think to a certain extent they will have Brexit in mind when that decision is made, don't you?
Oh yeah.
Is it? I mean, excuse my naivety on this subject, but is this not all a bit too early to be having, press statements released about the concern over Brexit and things like that? Because nobody really knows what's going to happen when we get to that. I mean, surely, I'm pretty sure that high on the agenda will be making sure that there is some kind of open skies agreement in place. I mean, surely. Everybody should just keep their powder dry, really, until we know more. I don't know.
What, leave the papers with nothing to write about, Matt? What are you
Right,
thinking?
I'm sorry. Yes, I'm not thinking this through, am I? Yes.
But more importantly, we'll still have a Ryanair.
Well, yes, I don't think that was ever in doubt. That's what annoys me about these stories. It's just like he's just using it as an option. They're all using it, as you say, for publicity purposes and as a way of sort of grabbing headlines. It's just. Yes.
So the next story
Just a thought on just. Oh, sorry.
Carry on,
no,
Mike. Carry on, Mike.
Just a thought on the whole. Just a thought on the whole ownership that me and Nick were debating a moment ago. If said company is owned 31% by a European airline, would that not? Obviously, it's a near majority stake of an airline within Europe, not too dissimilar to what EasyJet is doing by moving their operations to Austria. Is that right? Would it be something along them lines or similar?
I don't know. I mean,
I don't know. It depends really on what the ownership regulations that the UK decides on when it's its own master. So I think that's the question mark that everyone has in their head.
but surely they could. I mean, again, forgive my naivety on this subject, but surely they don't necessarily have to have a base here in the UK as long as they've got an office and they own a certain percentage. Surely.
Well, we're talking about the percentage that owns the airline, not where they're based.
Right.
That's a different matter.
Okay.
What we're worried about is that once we come out of the EU, if an airline's part owned by countries that are in the EU, and now the country that the airline is based in, the UK, owns a minority portion, will that still be legal in UK law? So
Right.
all of a sudden, they may be saying, right, well, you've got to buy back a portion of your airline so that you're now a majority holder because you're a UK airline, no longer a European airline as such.
I wonder what would happen. I mean, obviously, all of Ryanair's aircraft are EI registered in Ireland. What would happen if they had some G registered aircraft? So actually have UK registered aircraft. I wonder how.
Well, then they'd have to obey the law for a change, wouldn't they?
Well, yes. I'm just waiting for you to say that. I didn't have to wait very long.
Controversial.
But, yeah, I just wonder whether that might have an effect on, obviously, because frankly speaking, the UK market is absolutely vital to Ryanair, isn't it? So I wonder what's going to happen.
I think it's vital to many companies, not just Ryanair.
Yeah,
isn't
absolutely.
it?
Yeah, definitely. So let's see what happens.
I'll be retired, so I won't care.
Right, yeah. I forgot you're counting down the milliseconds.
You and your trump card. Yeah.
So moving on to the next story then, Nev, it's all for you.
Yeah, another excellent aviation publication, the Daily Telegraph.
Oh, excellent.
And this is all about my favourite, British Airways. And they're going to be rolling out some Wi-Fi on flights. But budget airlines are insisting that passengers just want a break. And the BA flights across Europe could have Wi-Fi on board from June, with passengers able to check emails, tweet and upload selfies from the cabin. The airline's parent company, IAG, which also owns Aer Lingus and Iberia, is introducing new high-speed Wi-Fi on board selected aircraft this June before rolling it out across 90% of its short-haul fleet by 2019. Whilst on-board Wi-Fi is common on long-haul flights and is already offered by carriers including British Airways and Virgin Atlantic, it is rare in Europe because the dense airspace makes connections, satellites, patchy. IAG is the launch customer of the European Aviation Network, a new system that allows airplane antenna to connect to a system of 300 ground towers across Europe, as well as satellites. The system, developed by Inmarsat and Deutsche Telekom, requires far lighter onboard equipment than before. Previously, an Inmarsat spokesman told the Daily Telegraph that the weight of equipment has not been fuel efficient for short-haul aircraft, which are often smaller. We'll see airlines able to offer reliable, high-speed and future-proof in-flight broadband across Europe's high-traffic flight paths, the spokesperson added. Until now, European airlines have been forced to rely on heavy satellite-based in-flight internet. EAN requires very few small and light antennas, making it also ideally suited for fitting on smaller aircraft that are typically used on European routes. The spokesperson, which said the company was in discussions with all major airlines about the technology, said it costs hundreds of thousands of pounds to install. Passengers of Britain's budget airline might, however, be left disappointed. Ryanair and EasyJet told the Daily Telegraph that they had no current plans to offer it. Some passengers are delighted to be out of contact during their flight whilst they get some respite from emails and social media, a Ryanair spokesperson added. Well, I'm in agreement with that, certainly on the short-haul sectors. But I think that Inmarsat and you know, that's a very, you know, well-respected high technology communications company. I just wonder how this is going to work on the short haul sectors, though, because I think that the density of it is just going to be horrific, and I think the bandwidth will leave a lot to be desired, I would say.
I'm a bit surprised that they haven't tried to create a system that works the same as, say, Delta does in America here, where on a short haul flight you get automatic internet and you can connect to the Delta entertainment website and watch their in-flight movies on your iPad or your phone whilst you're doing a short-haul flight. And most short-haul flights are enough for a few TV programs or perhaps a movie. And I think that's a great concept because they don't have to put any in-seat TVs. You bring your own screen in, but you get really good quality downloading, streaming to watch a movie on your flight.
I'd be interested to find out what the weight penalty is for these in-flight entertainment systems. If you take all the gear and everything that goes with it, the screens, the central processing devices, it must be a lot.
Huge.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. You still need to keep the in-seat power, so you're still going to have a bit of weight there. But I think you would save a lot. Whether it is enough to pay for the service, because Delta offer it for free over here.
Yeah, true. That is true.
I don't know why you want to tweet yourself that you're on British Airways. There's nothing more embarrassing in life, is there?
No.
I do it all the time, actually.
To agree.
Vital part of my trip.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Here I am with Granny on Granny's Airline Incorporated.
Right.
Yeah. Have a look at my 75-year-old cabin crew member.
Yeah.
Well, so that's United, isn't it? We better not offend Brian Coleman.
Oh, no. Right. Oh.
And moving swiftly on then.
Okay.
Right, so Captain Nick, we've got a nice little Airbus story for you.
What's this? This is in the Daily Female, it being International Ladies' Day.
Of course.
No, the Daily Fail, isn't it?
The Daily Fail or the Daily Rant.
I tell you,
this is guaranteed to raise your captain's blood pressure.
Excellent, good.
So this is a Thrust C event. Are you sure I'm allowed to read this? It's a family show.
Yeah, no, of course. Yeah, we'll take the risk. It's fine.
Okay, so the thrusting is... we will be treat that with a certain amount of care. The awesome power of an Airbus A320's twin engines is best demonstrated with a conveniently parked camper van. I think this has been done, you know.
Yeah.
It has an amazing clip which shows the awesome power of the Airbus A330s. Oh, a nice bit of proofreading. We've gone from an A320 to an A30. That's a road that goes out of London.
Right.
Or an old Austin car.
Yeah, an old Austin. So the A30's twin engines. In the footage, the pilot can be seen starting the engines, causing a van to shake. The red camper van positioned near the engines is flung away by their power. Oh, Lord. You know, this is like one of those movies, you know, Superman or whatever. Anyway, this is the moment. The awesome power of an Airbus's twin engines completely blows over a parked camper van. The The power from the Airbus A320's passenger jet engine is incredible. It makes the red camper van flip over several times in mid-air. The video was posted in Twitter by an aviation account and has been viewed more than 21,000 times. Well, not exactly viral. It is unknown where it was filmed. It's a picture of a van being blown over. Now, I don't know if you've ever watched Mythbusters.
Yeah.
They did this. They did this ages ago. And I think they did it much better. But there you go. And they did it on, what's that motoring program with Jeremy Clarkson.
Oh, the Grand Tour, yes, with loads of little
I'm
Cessnas.
sure they did it on that as well.
Yeah, no, I must admit, I was watching that and just thinking, I hope Carlos hasn't got access to Grand Tour, because he's going to be absolutely horrified as he's watching these things from flight.
Actually, I'm looking at the back of this. Isn't it? It's got an L1011 sticker on it. This van that's being blown over.
Yeah, probably. It probably has, to be fair. Yeah.
It would have been more funny had it been a cyclist or a caravan.
Well, true. Yes.
Yeah, very true. Yeah.
Nobody's keen. Yes, everybody can cope without it being.
I think this video would have been much better had they have had a proper Airbus like the one that you fly, Nick, with 4 powerful engines.
Ooh, right.
Well, yeah, it would have been. Although you can only park a van in front of one at a time.
Yeah. Good point. Yeah.
You could stick it in front of a Boing's engines. I'm sure the bin liner. Oh, wait a minute! They don't have any working engines, do they? That would have been a shame. That would have been a bit of a non-event then.
Okay, anything you'd like to
Mike,
add to
feel
that
free
at all,
to come
Mike?
back.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm saving myself.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay.
Oh, here we go. Right, okay. So, anyway, you're up next, sir.
Mike?
Hang on a minute. Which one are we doing first?
So, it is
You've got the
Dreamliner one.
Dreamliner.
Oh, dear. I think
he's gone.
Boeing have just cut him off.
He's just fallen off. He's just fallen offline. That's outrageous.
Mike?
He's gone.
Can I do this one, please? Can I?
Oh, go on then, Nick.
Yeah, go on then, sir. Yeah, he has officially fallen off.
Binliner brings non-stop flights to Hawaii a step closer. Hawaiian Airways is considering non-stop flights from Hawaii to Perth. Is that in Scotland? After it committed to buying several ultra-long-range Boeing 7879. Why did they go 789? 789, 10, 11. Anyway, they're getting the 7879s yesterday. Speaking from Honolulu, the airline's president and chief executive, Peter Ingram, said destinations such as Perth in Scotland were certainly an option. Whilst delivery is 3 years away, are there enough people in Perth to fly to Honolulu?
I didn't think there'd be enough people to actually fill one, frankly. So
yeah, exactly right. The airline's president and chief, blah, blah, blah. While delivery is 3 years away, well, perhaps they're hoping a lot of people will move to Perth. We've not yet examined in detail the different market for the Boeing 787. It gives us many interesting possibilities, such as London and Perth. Okay. The airline ordered 10 787s. So they ordered 10 and they don't know what they're going to use it for yet. It's a bit of a worry, really, isn't it? Don't they actually have a slightly more detailed plan?
Well, okay.
I suppose, actually, considering the number of engines they're going to have to order as well, they're probably going to have to wait several years before they can get them online.
Okay, well, I noticed that Mike has rejoined us. I didn't know if you had any comments on this particular...
I got as far as the bit where I was slating the 787.
Mike, did you want to add anything? Hello?
That'll
Mike?
be a no then. Okay,
no?
all right.
Okay.
He's okay.
Mike's struggling a bit.
His symbol has appeared, but we've obviously lost him still, which is slightly a bit of a shame.
So we'll
really,
move on then.
Yeah. So yes, you'll go next.
Yeah.
Then,
so we've gone on to the traveller.com.au. So, an Australian website then.
Australian?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the headline then, and this is all very important to anyone who travels with Virgin Atlantic and can't afford business or upper class. And so Virgin Atlantic are to increase legroom in economy class. Woo. So Virgin have said that they will offer a new type of economy seat with extra legroom as it tries to stand out from the crowd at a time when low-cost airlines are intensifying competition on transatlantic routes. The British-based airline, partly owned by US carrier Delta, said on Wednesday it will refit the cabins of its Boeing 787 Dreamliners to offer a new type of economy seat with legroom of 34 inches, bigger than the current economy offering of 31 inches.
Well, that's actually pretty generous for economy.
Virgin also said it would offer a new Economy Light ticket, which excludes checked luggage. It gave no information about ticket prices in the new categories. The airline is increasingly competing against low-cost carriers such as Norwegian Air Shuttle, Canada's WestJet, and Iceland's WOW Air, which are all stepping up expansion on routes between North America and Europe. IAG, the owner of Virgin's old rival BA, is also in on the low-cost action, launching a low-cost long-haul unit called Level last year, while Lufthansa has been expanding its Eurowings brand as well. And US carriers have introduced new fares that don't include baggage or seat selection. Virgin said a process to refit its cabins to offer the extra legroom was underway and formed part of a £300 million or $533 million investment, which included adding Wi-Fi to its fleet and new bag drop facilities at airports. The new 34-inch legroom seat on Virgin, available from this spring, will give passengers an option in between economy and Virgin's more expensive premium economy seat. Rival airlines British Airways and Norwegian also offer economy seats with 31 inches of legroom. Both British Airways and Virgin offer legroom of 38 inches in their premium economy, while Norwegian's premium cabin has legroom between
launching
43.
a low-cost long-haul unit called Level.
Level.
They might have called it Straight and Level. That would have made me a bit more confident. Whilst Lufthansa has been expanding its Eurowings brand, and US carriers have introduced new fares that don't include baggage or seat selection. Virgin said a process to refit its cabins to offer the extra legroom was underway and formed part of a £300 million, that's $533 million US dollars investment, which includes adding Wi-Fi to its fleet and new bag drop facilities at airports. The new 34-inch legroom seat on Virgin, available from this spring, will give passengers an option in between economy and Virgin's more expensive premium economy. Rival airlines such as British Airways and Norwegian also offer economy seats with 31 inches of legroom. Both British Airways and Virgin offer legroom of 38 inches in their premium economy, whilst Norwegian's premium cabin has legroom between 43 and 46. Actually, that's pretty good going, isn't it? Last year, Virgin Atlantic said Air France KLM would buy 31% of the airline from Richard Branson's Virgin Group, making it the second largest
Dear.
Virgin Atlantic shareholder.
Farm station.
Indeed.
After US airline Delta, which owns 49% stake, and are reducing Virgin Group stake 20%. The deal has not yet completed, it says here.
Indeed, yes. Apologies about that, guys. Sorry, I pressed the wrong button here, which meant we lost our link to your call. So thank you for carrying on there, Nick, while I just put that right. So well done, sir. A consummate professional.
It's a nice looking airline, this lot.
Yeah.
I ought to work for them.
Yeah.
Who is it again, Nick?
Virgin.
Oh.
Oh, I've never heard of them. Anyway,
I was quite impressed with their legroom. You know, actually, I was more impressed with the legroom on the 747 than I was on the 330 that I flew last November to Dubai.
Don't start, Mike, on the 330. You're going to get an extra 3 inches, and who wouldn't want an extra 3 inches?
well, quite. Yes, indeed.
I mean, I'm not gonna just go on about how I hated every minute of the flight on the 330 across there. It was noisy and uncomfortable.
What?
But anyway, yeah.
Okay. Right, brave. I'll give you that. Yeah. Anything you'd like to add to that at all, Nick?
I was just saying, I fly the 330, and where I sit, it's perfectly fine.
Well, that's
Yeah,
true. It's
I
very
expect
quiet where
it
you are.
is.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, but
I think in past shows, Nick has owned up to not liking the A330 himself.
it's not my favourite airplane.
Dreadful.
Oh dear. Yeah, do you know, you just sit here ever so slightly nervous that something's about to kick off. It's just like
That'll be later on in the
Yeah,
show.
I think Mike and I are very close in our appreciation of certain Airbus products and not others. The 330 is, quite honestly, it's just a two-engined 340-300 series, so there's not a great deal of difference, quite honestly.
The 300 is just the same fuselage of a 340-300, isn't it? And just with two new motors stuck on it, isn't it?
Yeah, that's exactly right. But and we've discussed this many times. It's what the company choose to put in the cabin that makes the difference to the passenger. What's on the outside, to a lot of people, is really irrelevant, unless you're if it ain't Boeing, I ain't going brigade. So, and most of them wouldn't know the difference if they climbed into an Airbus. They wouldn't know how to tell the difference. So I find it all a bit of a joke, really.
I was just about to say, I wonder if you asked everyone at the gate if they knew what they were going on, I reckon a good 70% wouldn't have a clue.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. They would know how much they pay for the ticket.
Yeah, they can tell you that. Yeah.
That's not the first thing I look at when buying tickets, I have to say.
No, indeed. I have to confess, my tickets are based. My ticket choices are usually based on which one is cheapest. I'm sorry to say. Yeah.
No, I think that's exactly my point, Matt. Exactly.
Yeah,
something new every day.
Yeah, but
Carlos books his ticket on a different premise. He wants to get the experience of flying in different types.
Yes, very true.
They've all got two wings. They're all a metal tube. They've got some engines varying in number.
Yes.
And the rest of it.
Actually, Nick, I might just add, I've not yet had the grand opportunity of flying on an A340, so I need to sort that one out.
An A340.
Hurry, mate! You've only got a couple of years to go.
Yeah. I'm going to have to get on that one.
That'll be on his bucket list. No, I do. I literally book it based on which one is cheapest. You know, it's just like, because it's. Well, I mean, okay, I suppose I've reached a point now where actually, if it says 767, I'm not interested. If it says 757, I no longer want to go on that plane. So I suppose I'm reaching a point now where I am becoming a bit of a plane snob.
I actually did read a story earlier on this week in the news. I haven't put it in the show notes for this week, but Boeing were actually considering restarting the 767 production line.
Over my dead body.
Yeah.
Sorry.
What for?
Exactly. I find that hard to believe.
Really?
Yeah, it was out there. It was a story.
I mean, I have to actually, all jokes aside, because the flow. Okay, so this was going into Newark, obviously. So this is obviously where Nick is at the moment, and this was a 767.
It was, yeah.
And the one that went out, because it had a refit, but it was absolutely lovely. It was really nice. From a boring old passenger's point of view, I had reasonable legroom. The in-flight entertainment system was absolutely amazing. I could watch all sorts of films going out there and all that kind of thing. It's only really when I then came home on what was clearly a much, much, much older one. It was just horrific.
But it is like Nick says, though. It does depend on what the airline itself puts inside the aircraft as to how good things are.
Well, I mean, these were both owned by United, but they couldn't have been. I mean, they were essentially the same craft, but they couldn't have been more different inside.
The issue with that, though, is it's when that aircraft is coming to its retirement. British Airways a few years ago had two different first classes on their 747s, and they didn't fit a certain amount out because the ones that were coming or nearing retirement, there was no kind of feasible point. So it is airline dependent upon its requirements, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so. Yeah.
So moving on then to the next story, Matt, and this is another one of those stories regarding smart luggage.
Smart luggage. Yeah. Okay, sorry, my machine is misbehaving. Yes, so this is on the Global and Mail website, whatever one of those is. So you've been scouring the website, the internet for weird stories again. The new wave of smart luggage leaves airlines scrambling, apparently. So while many travellers might think that the worst thing about a 7 a.m. flight from Toronto's Pearson International Airport is braving the lineup of caffeine junkies at Tim Hortons, an incident on a full Air Canada flight recently raised the bar. One morning last weekend, while the Vancouver-bound plane was sitting on the tarmac, one passenger's cell phone caught fire and had to be extinguished by the crew. The passenger received treatment for burns on her hands, and those sitting nearby were evacuated for the cleanup. The delay lasted 2 hours. Some passengers reported seeing smoke from dozens of rows away, and one passenger told Toronto News Channel's CP24 that the fire was a small campfire-sized flame. That is not, of course, the first time a cell phone has caused a commotion on an airplane. Earlier this year, cell phone chargers caused fires on planes in both Russia and China, and the Samsung Galaxy Note 7 became an international transit pariah after a pattern of spontaneous fires and explosions resulted in multiple recalls, and after being deemed a hazard, were banned from all Canadian and US flights, among many others. While the potential problems associated with lithium-ion batteries have long been known, concern has since expanded to the new wave of so-called smart luggage designs that integrate electronic technology to offer a range of new features, and airlines are now scrambling to modify the regulations in response. While lithium-ion batteries are notoriously unstable in certain circumstances, such as when the batteries are poorly made or installed improperly, leading to punctures and exposure to air, they are also extremely efficient and long-lasting. Lithium-ion batteries are commonly used in all kinds of helpful travel-related accessories, from cell phones and computers to headphones and fitness trackers, and increasingly luggage. This new wave of smart luggage is part of the broader Internet of Things and Bluetooth-enabled movement. The desire to add modern communication devices to everything from refrigerators to umbrellas, major luggage manufacturers have rolled out a range of features meant to digitally enhance and add convenience to the travel experience. For example, Hayes sells smart luggage with multiple features, including a smart handle with integrated scale, which provides the weight of the bag when picked up by the handle. That's very useful. A smart TSA lock, which uses Bluetooth to remotely lock or unlock the bag, and a proximity alarm that alerts a user when his or her bag is coming down the luggage carousel. I mean, you could just use your eyes, I suppose.
Yeah,
And just, anyway, so luxury luggage manufacturer Rimowa has introduced a new piece of luggage with a built-in e-paper luggage tag that can be checked in online, currently only being offered with Lufthansa, EVA, Swiss and Austrian, through a cell phone-enabled Bluetooth connection. And other bags now have built-in chargers, some powered by lithium-ion batteries and GPS location trackers, to address the perennial concern about luggage being lost. Airlines have been forced to modify their policies to accommodate the growing popularity of these bags. The guidelines set out by WestJet and Air Canada, informed by the Canadian Air Transport Security Authority, dictate that they will accept smart luggage as a carry-on, providing that the system within the bag is completely powered down. If the system cannot be turned off, any batteries must be removed. In order to check a piece of smart luggage, the lithium-ion battery pack must be removed and brought into the cabin. In the event that a piece of luggage cannot be powered down and the batteries cannot be removed, the airline will not accept the bag. The generally accepted wisdom is that potentially volatile batteries are safer in the cabin, where any fires could be manually extinguished rather than in the baggage hold. Which is a good point, really. I won't read the rest of that story because it does go on a bit, but I mean, it's a great idea, this smart luggage, and of course everybody is, you hear horror stories left, right and centre about bags going missing and not turning up at their destination, so GPS taggers would enable you to sort of track it down, because it's basically got a glorified mobile phone built into it. Yeah, it is a good point, because you're not really supposed to you're not allowed to put your mobile phone in the luggage hold, are you? I think I'm correct in saying that. You have to have it in the hold. Is that
with
correct?
lithium batteries, it's supposed to be in your hand luggage, and you're not allowed to put spare lithium batteries in your hold luggage. You're quite right. So having a lithium battery in something that's designed to go in the hold, it becomes a bit pointless.
Bit of an issue, yeah, absolutely. And I'm amazed, really, that somebody hasn't thought of this when
these
they were
Modo
making them.
bags, motorised suitcases. I mean, the pictures on the story here, Matt. This is like a mini scooter. You can actually sit on and drive around the the airport.
Okay, that sounds like fun.
I mean, the battery must be huge in this case. It must weigh a ton. Honestly, you lose all your...
It's amazing that we can't take batteries on board, but we can take them as cargo. Especially with us, we take a lot to Hong Kong and Shanghai on a weekly basis with lithium-ion batteries going that way. So what's the difference?
Well, if they're carried as cargo, they'll be properly packed.
True.
Have you seen some of the cargo that goes on our aircraft?
Yeah, I'm pretty confident that our cargo boys know what they're doing. But
well, it's not been done by the Royal Mail, has it? Let's be honest.
Yeah, the fact is that if a lithium battery just sitting there doing nothing is generally speaking pretty safe. It's only if you give it a good whack and cause a short circuit inside it, because some of the cells have been damaged.
Yeah,
that it does tend to then start to discharge. The temperature increases and then goes into a thermal runaway. So that is the major problem. Now, if you pack the battery as well, and they've got safety circuits within them that stop them from running away so easily and control them properly when they're being charged. So then they're fine. But not every manufacturer, particularly those in the Far East, are going to do that. And at least if you know they've been well packed as DG, they're going to be safe on board reasonably safe on board in the cargo hold.
A good point. And I know we ran some stories. We ran a story not that long ago, and I know we mentioned it at the top of the show, the Grand Tour, and Richard Hammond was actually test driving on a racetrack, and when he had his crash in the first episode of Series 2, and of course that was an electric car, and it wasn't the issue wasn't. I mean, it was literally a molten mass in no time at all, and that was purely because a couple of cells got damaged in the crash, and then off went the thermal runaway. Now, obviously, you wouldn't have massive amounts of batteries like you'd find in one of these cars, but the problem is still the same. I mean, these phones get so hot when they're charging. You think if you damage one of those cells, I mean, the heat that can be generated if something goes wrong, and you don't want that in the hold, do you? If it's been damaged.
That's the point. And the other thing is that your luggage is notoriously easily damaged by luggage loaders. Now, not every bloke that throws suitcases around is going to toss it 20 feet off the hold onto the concrete, but it does happen. And if that happens to be a bag that's got lithium batteries built in, there's a good chance that those batteries will be damaged, and that's when your problems start.
Yeah, that is true. Any thoughts, Nev?
Well, lithium-ion batteries, they've revolutionised our lives in terms of tablets, mobile phones, all this sort of stuff. And the thermal runaway events are quite rare, but when they do happen, it is quite a big moment.
It's catastrophic almost, isn't it?
It's just uncontrollable heat build-up, isn't it? Obviously, we'll get to a stage where there will be different batteries, I'm sure. But I did quite like my Nokia 3310, which I still have, when I can get 10 days battery life out of it. Obviously, I can't do internet or FaceTube or anything like that.
No.
So it just shows you how, where the technology has gone in terms of battery. But of course, the stuff we're doing with our phones now, it's just incredible, isn't it?
Well, they are. I mean, the amount of people I know. For example, the BBC, when they go out and do a lot of their things, if they're in towns and cities, they actually do everything through their, and I know you'll hate this word, iPhone. Because you can again, plugging into the lightning port, you can literally turn it to. And in fact, actually, a few weeks back when I was at Heathrow having dropped Owen off, and we did the show, that was actually done using the data connection on my mobile phone, and I had all the Skype calls and everything. So I had a piece of clever tech attached to it, so that I had network ports and all that kind of thing. So as you say, the things that we can do with our mobile phones is frightening. But
I think the trouble as well, a very small part of this kind of story before we move on, is that nowadays with smartphones and stuff as they are, and being as really advanced as they are, battery life isn't that great on a smartphone, so a lot of people do tend to carry around power cells or power bricks or whatever you want to call them, and that is the norm now. I think most people do generally tend to carry a power brick with them.
I must confess, and you're going to hate me for this, but I've got this new iPhone 7 thingy, and I have to confess,
2 days.
I don't need one. I get 2 days out of it. So, but that will deteriorate over time, and I will need one. So it's sorry, I woke up Siri while I was doing that. I do apologise.
So moving on to the next story, Nev, and it's another BA one for you.
Yes, it's on the Air Transport World website, and it says that British Airways has refreshed the cabins of its 10-strong Boeing 777 fleet at London Gatwick Airport with World Traveller Plus and World Traveller seats. The World Traveller Plus cabin in the fleet's 3-class 777s will double seat capacity from 24 to 52, whilst the Club World cabin will be reduced from 40 to 32 seats. The World Traveller Plus cabin in the fleet's 4-class 777s will see an additional 12 seats added. The 6 3-class 777 aircraft will be completed by winter 2018, with the first 4-class variations finishing by summer 2019. The first routes will be Punta Cana, Cancun and Kingston, Jamaica, before it is gradually rolled out across all BA's 22 long-haul routes from Gatwick. BA's London Heathrow-based 777s will be fitted with the new World Traveller Plus seat from autumn 2019. According to BA, the World Traveller cabins have been fitted with the newest, most enhanced seating, which features a 6-way headrest with adjustable ears for added comfort and movable middle armrests. The new in-flight Panasonic IFE system has been updated with larger HD screens and gesture control to navigate the interface like using a tablet. The screen size will double from 6 to 12 inches in World Traveller Plus and increase from 6 to 10 inches in World Traveller. New USB sockets are available at every single seat, allowing all customers to charge a range of different electronic devices during their flight. And World Traveller Plus seats also have an additional power outlet socket for UK, US and EU plugs, according to BA. And these seat back screens that they've got, I don't know if you've got a picture of it.
Yeah, I didn't know it popped up while you were talking.
They look incredible. But of course, again, this LED and LCD technology has moved on so much, so it's a lot lighter weight than they used to be. And obviously Panasonic and the people that make the screens, they're used to designing stuff for aircraft. So we were talking about the weight penalties earlier on. I'm sure there's a lot of work done on this to make sure that the weight penalty isn't too great.
And of course, actually, going back to what you were talking about power outlets there. I mean, one of the things that surprised me, because everything is USB chargeable virtually these days, even tablets, and the tablet that Carlos is using here is basically a Windows 10 PC, but it's charged by. I'm surprised that they're bothering almost to put power sockets in new craft these days. I mean, unless you're in business, it's very unlikely that the passenger is going to break out the laptop to do something on it. I mean, you'd have thought really again because it's much easier to feed just like USB ports to all the seats, surely, because it's all low voltage.
The other thing is with these not just the 3-pin but the 2-pin power sockets as well, whether it's US or the EU ones, they always get broken because people try to shove the wrong thing in there, so the seat power often doesn't work properly. So standard USB-A connector would do it.
Will cover virtually everything because everybody's got the charging lead in their pocket, haven't they? I mean, that's in fact actually when we were in London, myself and Nev on Wednesday, and just in Nev's pocket he just pulled out a USB lead and then started charging his phone because he just had one.
I wonder what you were going to say there.
Stop it.
I do note that they've gone 10 abreast on this cabinet, which seems to be an elephant in the room that we have avoided.
Yes, I thought I'd just skip over that. Yes,
exactly.
10 abreast in a 777 is not a lot of fun on those long-haul sectors in economy.
Cozy. I think the word snug springs to mind.
Cozy and snug, yes, absolutely.
But the LEDs are a lovely colour.
The LEDs are a fabulous, glorious colour, yes, absolutely. In the bin liner, they are great.
777.
I must say, one of the things from my trip to New York, actually, that I found so unbelievably frustrating is I don't know in what cloud cuckoo land whoever it was that invented the American power outlet. I don't know whether they were on crack cocaine or something at the time, but I've never seen anything so dangerous in my entire life. It's like I couldn't stop it from falling out of the wall.
Well, it's only 110 volts, mate. It'll give you a tickle, but it won't whack you.
Well, no, I know, but it was just like wow. Anyway, that's not at all aviation related. No. I apologise.
You'll definitely saw your hair out in the morning. That's for certain.
Well, that is true. Yeah, absolutely.
Right, we'll unplug that story and move on to the next one.
Oh dear.
And
that was a tenuous link.
That was pretty naff.
Yeah, indeed. So we'll move on. Nick, I believe this is yours. Hopefully, obviously, just to warn you, Mike, you are up next. So fingers crossed, you might actually get to read a story.
Wow, I thought you hope you're not paying him for this.
No.
All them
Indigo.
Patreon fees.
Indigo plan. Oh, this is from Bloomberg.
Oh.
We love Bloomberg. Indigo plans order for up to 50 Airbus A330 wide bodies. So Indigo, India's biggest airline, plans to order as many as 50 Airbus SE A330 wide-body jets. It seeks to expand beyond short-haul flights. People with knowledge of the matter said, "Who the hell are they?"
People with
the
knowledge
carrier
of the matter.
aims to take the upgraded A330 Neo version of the plane. That's assuming that everyone can get the engines working, according to the people who asked not to be named and may not exist. I'm sorry, it didn't actually say that, as the discussions aren't public. The deal would be worth $13 billion at list prices. Well, no one ever pays list prices for an aircraft. For the smaller of two variants, though some of the aircraft are likely to be options to be confirmed later. Indigo is developing plans for... What happens if they change the colour? I mean, you're a bit stuck there. You've got Indigo. I mean, if they decide to paint themselves pink...
I mean,
Court line colours.
maybe.
Yeah.
just thinking out loud, is developing plans for long-haul flights after building up a fleet of more than 150. Oh, we love these people. Airbus A320 narrow-body planes to use within the region. The carrier, based near New Delhi, looked at the Boeing company's 787 and dismissed it, and the Airbus's larger A350 before settling on the A330 Neo. Very sensible people. A re-engined model developed from an older design, the people said. Well, if you want a lesson on that, just look at Boeing 737s. Quick delivery times and ease of retraining A320 pilots for the jet, well, that's like a 2-day course, were a factor in the decision, one person said. A sale to Indigo would come as a shot in the arm for the A330 upgrade, which Airbus developed to fill a gap in the bottom end of the wide-body market after building the A350. The plan has won 214 orders through February, compared with almost 1,500 for the original model and around 850 for the A350. That's good orders for the A350, yeah. All commitments are for the bigger 900 version after Hawaiian Airlines cancelled a deal for 6 smaller Dash 800s last month. Shares of the Indian carrier fell as much as 1.8% on Friday in Mumbai. What about the rest of the world? An order announcement from Indigo could come as early as June. One of these hidden people said. Representatives from the carrier didn't respond to requests for comments. A spokesman from Airbus said that the Toulouse France-based plane maker is in regular contact with all of its customers, whilst declining to comment further. It seems to be based on an awful lot of nothing, but you never know.
There might be some fact in there somewhere. You never know.
Do you know, actually...
Where? Can you remind me?
No, frankly. Sorry, I glazed over.
If you read actually further down on that page, there is actually a headline for another story there that actually says about Virgin Atlantic scrapping their any idea at all of them ever buying or using an A380.
Oh, right.
Oh, well, to be fair, they did that a while ago. I mean, the chance. I mean, they never really were ever going to take up that order. I mean, not once after 9/11. It was, it was never going to happen.
Has Acme Red got any A380s in its fleet? No.
And no plans to get any.
No.
Right. Oh, okay.
No.
Fair enough. Sorry, I asked. Okay,
That's
so
all right.
Mike, if
are
you
you
are
still
there
there?
and ready, it's time for you to read a story. Brace yourself.
Stand by, callers.
Yes. Okay. Here we go.
American to retire 45 Boeing 737s
Oh,
to praise the world in next 2 years. American Airlines Group, Incorporated, plans to retire 45 of its oldest Boeing Incorporated 737 jets over the next 2 years as part of an overhaul that will reduce the age of its workhorse narrow-body fleet. Need to retire some of its sodding cabin crew and all.
That's
The
slightly
Fort Worth,
controversial.
Texas carrier plans to withdraw 12 of the aircraft next year and 33 in 2020. are about 3 a month. Americans' oldest 737-800s are almost 19 years old. Christ, not as old as me. Although recent deliveries have reduced the group's average age to 8.1 years. According to the airline's annual report, American had 304 of the Boeing model at the end of last year, make up nearly 1/3 of its main jet fleet. It's strictly an age-based retirement at this point. Oh, bloody hell. American spokesman John Freed said, stating the sodding obvious, isn't it? Let's move down a bit here. Between the end of this year and the end of 2020, American plans to add 50 Airbus A321neo jets and 40 Boeing 37 MAX aircraft, according to a regulatory filing. The changes are part of American's broader effort to offset deliveries of new planes with retirements to hold its mainline fleet at around 950. Although the figure is set to drop to 935 in 2020, the carrier has received 469 new planes since it merged with US Airways at the end of 2013. It has retired the same number, lowering its average fleet age to 10 from 13. By the end of next year, American will shed the last of its aging Mad Dogs, Captain Jeff won't be happy, which have an average of 21 years. Jesus wept. The carrier previously had as many as 75 planes, which once made up the majority of its fleet. 21 years! That's the length of some people's marriages. Fire.
It's a lot longer
than some.
I can say it's a lot longer than most people's marriages, to be fair.
Bloody hell.
And that's the average age. I wonder how old the oldest is.
That is a good point, yeah. That is true. Still, come on, we all love the Mag Dog, really.
Well, I mean, it's quite common for airliners to go on for 25 years in a major carrier, and then they'll move off to some lesser-known carrier who will work them to death. And they may even move on to a third one where they'll just carry cargo. So it's not that old, 21 years, quite honestly.
Didn't you cover a story of a Mad Dog that crashed in Abuja? Was it 2 weeks ago, something like that?
That was
we did.
Dana.
That'd come from Delta like 30-odd years ago.
Yeah, exactly right. I'm trying to think what year it was built in might have been the 70s.
Wow, they do have a lot. I mean, it's like all these
Built
things.
to last.
It's the same things with coaches and stuff, though. I mean, it's like, what I call the workhorses, if you like. Yes, obviously there are amazing, newfandangled, sort of like £250,000 coaches that are out on the road there, but the majority of the older fleets, it's not unusual to have a 20 to 30-year-old coach that is still very beautiful, still well cared for, still completely fine. And presumably that's the same. I know you do have like an airframe age, don't you? That is like a maximum sort of gives it a finite date, I guess. But I mean, presumably, providing the vehicle is well cared or the aircraft is well cared for, there's no reason why it can't continue to fly for many, many years.
I'm going to say something really old here. They don't make them like they used to. It is a true fact.
That's just the Yorkshireman in you, I'm afraid. That's
well, yeah, it is actually.
Think of the cost saving.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting in the future because you can do quite easy testing on an aluminium airframe and work out if it's cracking up and what's breaking in it.
Yeah.
But I'm just wondering how carbon composites are going to serve, when an aircraft's 30 or 40 years old, and how easy it will be to test to see whether it's starting to come apart.
Well, and that is the thing, isn't it? As you say, it's like literally, as Mike is saying, they literally don't make them like they used to, and it's, as you say, it's until they invent a test. You don't know, do you?
I just Googled oldest passenger aircraft in commercial operations in the UK, just for giggles.
Yeah.
And it's come back with a hit on a Jet 2 Boeing 737, which is Golf Charlie Echo Lima Hotel, and it's 31 years old.
Wow.
That's a Jet 2 737.
Wow. I'm amazed. I thought there'd be one that's like. So I wouldn't have been at all surprised if you said there was one that was 40 years old still in service.
Well,
Jet 2's first 757 they had was when they ever first started had the registration G-PIDS, and it stood for Passengers in Deep
Okay, right.
And it was very appropriate for a 30-some-year-old aircraft, wasn't it?
Well, yes. Yeah. Oh, God, everything nipped up there for a brief
I
moment.
Every time it came back, it needed a new wing or something.
Yeah, well, yeah. This is the trouble. Yeah.
Let's not forget there's some B-52s flying around
Well,
where
of course.
the
Here
current
we go.
pilot,
Bloody military.
his father
Not time for that just yet.
used to be on the same airframe, and his grandfather used to fly the same
That's
airframe.
true.
Yeah.
Very true.
And they're still going. Amazing.
Yeah, that is true.
So the next story, and this is on the click.
Oh, hang on a minute. Jeff's told me that story we were talking about. That aircraft was built in 1990, he says, and so it made it 27.4 years old.
Okay, very good. There we are. This is why I like. This is why I love the chat
not
room.
flying anymore.
What? No, indeed, it's not doing that. Yeah.
So on the click2houston.com website, this
I
one.
beg your pardon.
I know. And we're back onto flight school type stuff again.
Okay.
And the headline on here, Flight School addresses pilot shortage. The airline industry is facing a staffing crunch, a worldwide pilot shortage, making it tougher to grow and expand. Airlines need more pilots in training to replace retiring pilots, Nick, and keep their aircraft in the air.
Don't get any ideas. I've got Nick's seat lined up.
Okay.
Right. 575 days time, I tell you.
So one flight school has found
I choose who sits in my seat. I get to pick the bloke. Didn't you know that?
I hope it's not Vincent.
Oh, blimey.
No. Oh, you'd start sucking up now.
You heard it here first
Right.
on the PTUK show. So
Indeed, yeah.
The airline industry is facing a staffing crunch. So one flight school has found a unique way to keep pilots in the pipeline and in the industry, and which is paying attention. Just a few years ago, Mills Thwinder was working for a non-profit in Washington, D.C., but he dreamed of becoming a commercial pilot. But all the training was just too expensive at more than $60,000. It was looking bleak for a while, Thwinder said, and he was going to settle for doing a 9-to-5 job in Washington to a Washington, D.C. commute. Thwinder felt he was missing out on what some in the industry considered to be the best time ever to get into aviation. With thousands of baby boomer pilots retiring, there is a worldwide pilot shortage. They're not able to hire the numbers they want, so they have scaled back flights. They've said the pilot shortage was also hurting Perna, the founder of Epic Flight Academy, and they couldn't find enough experienced pilots willing to work as instructors. Perna's solution was a sponsorship program. Under the program, which Perna said was the first of its kind in the industry, the flight school would help pay the tuition for promising cadets. In exchange, those students would be required to work at Epic Flight Academy as instructors for approximately 2 years as they logged the 1,500 flight hours required to become a professional airline pilot. Kayla Keith, who grew up on a farm, said her mum struggled to pay for her early flight training. But pretty much everything on the line to get here, Keith said. Honestly, they don't ask for a lot. In return, you have to be a flight instructor anyway, so why would I not come here, he said. Javier Martinez left his family in Arizona to take part in the program, and he said it was a big sacrifice, but he really wanted to become a pilot, he said. He's now poised to take advantage of the pilot shortage and someday earn a six-figure salary. Cool, six-figure salary.
Hello.
Aircraft manufacturer Boing estimates 17,000 more pilots will be needed over the next 2 decades in North America alone. The program at Epic Flight Academy is full, but they said the funding model was so successful they believe airlines will eventually replicate it. Well, that's good, though, I suppose. If we can try and bring down the cost of learning to fly, I think that would improve things no end.
Well, that is true. That is true.
Nick, you still paying your loan off from the flight?
Yeah, almost done. Don't forget, in my day, the airlines used to pay for all their pilot training. I mean, Hamble was a flying school for British Airways or BOAC, and they used to pick their cadets, and then they would pay for all their training and just then bring them into the airlines. So, we're a long way to getting back to those days, but they need to come back.
Definitely.
They do need to come back, because without airlines, no one is going to have the funding to do it. If you have 2 children these days, which like most families do have, if little Johnny would like to be a pilot at 18, it requires his mum and dad to put the house up as collateral to cover the £110,000 or whatever it is in the world to to become a pilot,
Yeah.
which is a heck of a lot of money to then only earn peanuts once you've passed.
Yeah. I mean,
any parent that's got his head screwed on is just going to say,
no. Yeah.
pick a different career, kid.
Yeah, this is true. Well, it is a concern. I mean, a friend of the show, who I won't name because I'm not sure I'm allowed to say, but I mean, they've gone down. What is it? Not C2C. What's it called? CPC.
L3 it's called now.
Oh, is it called L3?
Yeah,
and I mean,
that's
that's entirely self-funded, and you know, this guy has literally put everything on the line. You know, and of course there is, you know, whilst they say that they will give you a placement somewhere, there is no guarantee these days of a job at the end of it. I mean, I guess as long as you qualify at an appropriate standard, maybe, because there is this very apparent sort of pilot shortage out there at the moment, whether that has made things easier for those who do qualify to get another job. I don't know if either you or Nick have comment on that.
I think, personally, I'd like to see airlines do more of the route that I went down, where I was frozen ATPL, and then took an advanced entry system where then you were given a type rating by a company and then bonded to them for 5 years. That is, okay, it's still expensive, but you're not having to fork out £100,000 or put your mum and dad's house up as collateral.
Yeah, indeed.
Airlines do have the resources there, but I think just at the minute, it is going to take someone to push it through and actually follow through with such an idea.
Yeah, I mean, Nick, obviously, because I mean, your initial flying, if you like, was in the military, essentially. I mean, what happened as far as you were concerned? Like, what was your path to the career that you now do, as far as sort of flying is concerned?
Well, because the military take an entirely different aspect to its training than anyone else. For a start, its training is longer and much more comprehensive than any airline could afford or any individual could afford to pay for, which is, you just do the basic minimum to get your license. And of course, there was no jeopardy for me. If I failed my training at any point, that was it. I could try and remuster in a different trade, or I could choose to leave the Air Force. It was up to me, and I would take those hours with me and perhaps use them to get a license in Civvy Street, whatever hours I'd achieved up to that point. So that training was, incredibly generous, if you look at it that way. The other aspect was that you were joining a military outfit, so you had to be prepared to, do whatever the military does, which is, if necessary, put your life on the line, but that's no big deal. The fact was that those times it was a Cold War, and if we went to war, we were expecting all to be obliterated. So it wasn't actually a very hard decision. No. Coming out of the Air Force, I still had to do the full ATPL. That was the old 14 exams in 2 days, and it cost me about 15 grand to get my civilian instrument rating. So it still wasn't cheap, considering I had 19 years of professional flying behind me. But that was the way it worked. The civil world didn't look with any great generosity upon military training.
No. Well,
I'll tell you what would be an interesting one is that I've just looked on the L3 Academy website. The cheapest, and this is without a placement at the end of it all, it just says that you'll be given interviews and so on. The cheapest course they offer is £80,000. I wonder how much of that £80,000 is profit towards L3.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the only people who know the answer to that is them themselves. I mean, Nev, obviously, I mean, if you had kids that were sort of thinking, "Oh, Daddy, I want to be an airline pilot." I mean, what would your thoughts be in regard to somebody coming up to you and say, "Dad, I want to be an airline pilot"?
Pick 6 numbers and not the win.
Yeah,
I suggest that they go and find a bank.
Right.
But have a think about this. What I don't understand, and maybe Nick or Mike can throw some light. What I don't understand about the whole industry is that 1 minute there's a pilot shortage, then it goes through a phase of, it seems like 6 years, 7 years, and then there's too many and people are laid off.
Yeah.
And then obviously, if an airline goes bust, and we've had a few calamities over the last year or so, then there's obviously a pilot excess, and then there's a pilot shortage again. It never seems to level itself out. And is this all down to demand, or is it down to the economics? I just don't understand the cycle of pilot recruitment at all.
I mean, is it because the cycle, if you like, it takes so long to get somebody to a point where they're able to get in an aeroplane and fly, by the time you've done typewritings and all that kind of thing? Perhaps it's one of those things where it's difficult to, you sort of withdraw the funding for a year type thing, but then already, it's a year too late, maybe.
Well, airlines would love to expand at a steady rate. There's no doubt about it. But life doesn't work like that. So the airline I work for has gone bust nearly gone bust, at least 4 times. And it's come damn close to going under, much closer than anyone would care to admit to.
Yeah.
So during the first Gulf War, they were a tiny airline with 10 airplanes and losing £1 million a month. Now, you can't do that for very long.
No.
And then you get, at the end of that, there was a huge expansion, not just the outfit I worked for, but almost airlines did exactly the same. So there's one rise, and then you get 9/11, and all of a sudden everybody is cutting back, redundancies everywhere. Airlines are going under, and there's another downturn. And then, of course, following that, there was a rise, not as steep as you might have hoped, but there was a rise. And these, generally speaking, unpredictable natural events or unnatural events in some cases, as well as just general demand in the world market. When people have got plenty of money and economies around the world are doing well, people will travel. And as soon as the economy starts to flatten or take a bit of a dive, and one of the first things to go are those fabulous trips that everyone used to take, all those business trips overseas, etc. That dies away, and the airline industry, as a result, suffers. So pilot recruitment will go in the same curve, albeit lagging a little bit, because there's a bit of inertia behind that. And of course, it takes a while to build an airline up, so you need to predict you're going to need pilots. And it's all hand to mouth. There's no planning. It's all reaction to short-term events, generally speaking, rather than a long-term plan. And that's not the fault of the airlines or the industry. It's just the fault of the fact that the world reacts quickly to disasters, and the bottom can drop out of the airline market overnight, as we saw, for example,
which
after 9/11.
Foreign Secretary it was, but one of them said it was events, dear boy. And I think the airline industry, along with so many other people, have to react to situations that happen. I mean, from 9/11 onwards.
In the chat room, then.
I said this the other night on Airplane Geeks the other day, is that there will always be a pilot shortage at the career starting airlines, your Ryanairs, your EasyJets, and so on and so forth, because everyone is career driven. They always want to work for a better company. Nowadays, though, even with the likes of British Airways, you can move after 2 or 3 years from EasyJet and have a no better contract at British Airways as to what you have, or had, should I say, at EasyJet. So it is almost a race to the bottom. So it's all right saying there is a shortage. There will always be a shortage at these airlines, the EasyJets, Ryanairs, and drop something. And whoever, it's always going to be that. We are, as people, career driven.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, money talks. If someone offers you an extra £10,000 a year, well, I'm not going to stay. You're not going to stay just because they're short.
No.
It's common sense.
Yeah, Pilot Pip in the chat room said that airlines are too reactionary and not all proactive. Andrew Wilson agrees. And there's a big chats going on. Neil Landwarn has said in the chat room, look at Monarch. Big expansion plans, then cut the long haul, then went bust.
No, I do think a lot of the problem at Monarch actually was one of their more profitable routes. I think was the routes to sort of Sharm el Sheikh and things like that.
Yeah,
and of course
very
to lose that like literally overnight. I mean, I don't think they ever really recovered, did they? I mean, that was the thing. But again, that almost highlights beautifully in some respects how volatile the aviation industry can be, because all it takes is an incident where perhaps in charge, the British government say, okay, nothing's allowed to fly into Sharm el Sheikh anymore because of security concerns, and then suddenly your most profitable route is gone overnight.
Andrew Wilson has just said in the chat room, currently at his airline, people are resigning left, right and centre to go to BA. Now they've opened the doors again.
Okay. But then, of course, you've got this same thing where a lot of people are leaving to go to go and work for people like Norwegian and Wizz and WOW and all that kind of thing. So I mean, it's this is maybe why people like Michael O'Leary really do need to start listening to the pilots if they want to hang on to them, really, because there is a lot of competition out there.
Yeah,
going back to the story started, that Ryanair actually offer one of the better cadet schemes and cheaper to get into aviation. So Ryanair, even though we all say, well, they're a bad company and they don't look after their employees or so on and so forth, they are a good starting ladder in life because they offer a very, very easier way to get into a commercial airline and sometimes £50,000 cheaper than what EasyJet or anyone else can offer. So that's food for thought for those out there thinking of it.
Yeah, it's a really I don't know. This is a debate that could go.
That is a good point, though, Mike. But you just have to weigh up the lack of benefits, health benefits, insurance. The cost that all the stuff that we get given as standard in an airline like ours. If you could make the sums work, then I can see why people would choose to go to Ryanair.
But that's the whole thing. You're not going to get Class A salaries in first-year jobs. You have to start at the bottom somewhere, and that is, even if you stay there for 2 to 3 years, you build your hours up, and then you move on.
But then are people literally using that model, as you say? Is essentially everybody's dream to end up working for someone like, say, Emirates or something like that? Is that what you mean by that, essentially? So
everyone is career driven, though, aren't they? Yeah. I mean, if you want to start off as a shop floor assistant, you want to move to a manager or supervisor. Everyone is career and money driven. So that is Ryanair is a starting point for anyone looking to get into that. It is common knowledge. It's common sense. We're all career driven, and that's it. That is the be all and end all. Yeah. Nick can argue as much as he wants. At some point, he was career driven. Maybe not now at 63. It's different. I will have a different at 28. I'll have a different outlook to what my career wants, as opposed to anyone else. But I'm just saying that is the be all and end all. Everyone is career driven.
I've only had 2 jobs, so I don't know. Not much of a career then.
I've only had 2 too.
No, indeed. I mean, I think I speak for me and Nev when I both say basically our motivation is wherever the bacon sandwiches are at their best. To be fair, I mean it's
my outfit does a good bacon patty for breakfast.
Right. Okay.
Before we move on to the last story, which is a top 9, I will say we couldn't afford a top 10 this week. I'm sorry, so we've got a top 9. But before we move on, I'm sure you've been asked this question a million times before, Nick. But when you eventually do leave the realms of commercial piloting with Acme Red, are you going to continue flying in the skies above the UK?
Well, no, you see, because Mike's still going to be a pilot somewhere, so I don't think I'll ever fly again, just in case.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I nearly flew you home last week, so be careful.
Yeah, no, I was thinking of being a no-show.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. I wouldn't have been as generous as Keith. I tell you that, I'd have made you sit down back with your knees around your ears.
Well, luckily it's not. I did have my knees down my ears, but
I'm going to sample them perfect bunks.
Yeah, well, luckily you weren't in charge.
Yeah. Anyway,
It'd have been more than a few brown stains.
oh dear. Okay, and on that bombshell,
bring back the days of flight engineers.
Okay.
Anyway,
good. Right. Yes.
right.
As you were.
So the last story then is a top 9.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
And this particular top 9 is on the Forbes.com website. It's one of these.
Can I just say my link's not working?
Oh, isn't it? It might be because you've got an ad blocker on. It could be an ad blocker issue.
All right.
But this one is on.
I also point out this is only the top 9 from one country.
It is.
Well, indeed, yes.
Especially
indeed. Look, it's a top 9, all right?
Yeah.
Especially your show doesn't even come from that country.
No.
Is that because they've only got 9 airlines in said country?
That's
possibly.
This is because we really appreciate our US listeners.
Right.
That's why we're bringing the top 9.
Okay.
We'll do a top 10 from the UK next week.
Right.
We'll afford the extra one.
Will we? Okay.
We've only got 5 now. Monarch's gone bust. So what are we going to do next week?
Again, a good point.
So this one, moving swiftly on, this one is the best and worst airlines in America. And so this overall list has been kind of put together with a set of 10 criteria in categories ranging from price of airfare, baggage, change fees, headaches with lost baggage, and all those kind of bits and pieces that put together, going on a good airline. So
Does police brutality count?
No, United. United is on there. So
because they're not American anymore. Is that why it's 9 and not 10?
Have we got any music, Matt, for this one?
I'm sorry. Oh, you want me to actually do something? Okay, yes, of course.
So we're going to start at number 9.
Yes, it's number 9, ladies and gentlemen. Number 9.
So at number 9, it is Hawaiian Airlines.
Ooh, and in at number 8, Captain Nick, this is for you.
Number 8 is that wonderfully coloured jet blue.
Nev in at number 7.
It's Spirit Airlines.
Mike in at number 6, if you found it.
American.
Very good. Middle for diddle, it is number 5, Carlos.
Number 5, it's
How can it be middle? We're in 9.
Well, because I can't do 4.5. Moving on.
It's Frontier Airlines.
Indeed. Never, it is number 4.
Fancy a punch-up? It's United Airlines.
Captain Nick, number 3, please.
Number 3 is the world's happiest and most lovable airline, Delta.
It's new, it's live, it's in at number 2, please. It is, who are we going with? Mike, sorry.
I mean, they've definitely got this wrong. It says Southwest.
Right, okay. And it is top of the pops. It is number 1, Carlos.
It's chilly, it's cold, it's chilly if you're feeling silly. It's Alaska Airlines.
Wow, have you been thinking about that all day?
A bit cold, Alaska.
It's only because they bought out Virgin America. That raised their ranking.
Right. Well,
so there we go.
Cool.
Ranked by category. So the best, the best one out of the lot. Then. Oh, thanks for ending that music so swiftly, Mr. Smith.
I tried to fade it, but it didn't work very well. I'm looking forward very much to having this new desk that is arriving very soon. I'm having to do it with a touchscreen. It doesn't work very well. Anyway, enough of my first world problems.
So apparently, according to this, actually, the best lounges are with Delta.
Are they?
There we go, yeah.
Oh, very good. Okay, well,
the
that was
best lounges are with Delta.
That's because half of them are used by Virgin Atlantic.
Exactly.
Right. Okay.
Well, they're in there mixing it with the Virgin Atlantic lovely passengers.
Lovely crew, I think. Anyway, moving on. The
Younger crew as well, I may add.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Yes.
So that's the end of the commercial segment for this week. Mm-hmm. So we're going to hand things over now to the king of everything to do with the passenger experience. So Nev, give us a brief on this week's segment.
Yes, it's that time again. It's Nev's passenger experience, and the fellow that we're talking to is actually in the chat room. So there,
is he?
Oh, so he was on last week's show, and then we did a little chat with him afterwards. And it's Armando Carrion. Hello and welcome to another in the series of Nev's Passenger Experience. I'm really enjoying bringing these segments to you, and I hope you're enjoying watching and listening to them as well. If you would like to take part in them, then don't hesitate to drop me a note at podcast@planetalkinguk.com. That's podcast@planetalkinguk.com, and I'll be delighted to do an interview with you. That will be fantastic. Well, this week I'm speaking to Armando Carrion, and Armando very kindly came down to our 200th show down in London a few weeks ago, and it was a great delight to meet him there. And he was doing an interview with me whilst he was in the Barn studio the other day, and I was in my studio here in Buckinghamshire. I began by asking Armando what sort of flying he'd been doing recently.
It was, I think, like 2 weeks ago, I went from here to Florida to Charlotte to Atlanta to up to New York to Heathrow, then flipped over the same day and did so landed at Heathrow from a long haul flight and back-to-back work trips, and then ended up jumping on Eurowings to Stuttgart. And then I don't think that was a direct flight. I think there was an intermediate stop in there somewhere, maybe Hamburg or something. I don't know, but yeah, that's sort of the life sometimes.
Nearly as much flying as you, Nev.
Well, yes.
Well, no, a lot more than me, actually.
That is crazy.
Yeah, so the combination of my work and sort of personal travel with my family being back in the States, I get to do a little bit of both. A lot of our work trips are short haul over to Europe, to mainland Europe, and then and I try to get home to the U.S. as often as possible, or as often as one can afford. One thing that I don't have to do, but I end up going back for the Reno air races every year. I'm part of a team out there, and that tends to be a long trip. So sometimes that's Gatwick to Oslo to Oakland or something like that, and then over to Reno. So it's kind of a Dr. Steph style, 4 legs, 5 legs, just to get from small airport to small airport.
Yeah, and of course the whole flying thing these days, the checking in the luggage and all this business. What do you think about all that? Are you very tolerant of all those sorts of things?
I don't mind it too much. I've gotten my packing down to just a carry-on everywhere. I'm perfectly fine with just going and not paying for any luggage, and just kind of living out of a small suitcase for even 2 weeks at a time, and 2-3 weeks at a time.
So would we see you in the business class section normally of these flights, or would you be back in coach somewhere?
That is a wholehearted no. I'm usually row 68Q, something like that, which is kind of the cheapest I can afford. Even when work buys us our plane tickets, we're in an economy. If we're lucky, we may get a boost up to Economy Plus or Comfort Plus, whatever the airline calls it. But it's 99% of the time in economy class.
And do you have to fly certain airlines when work is paying for you?
They tend to go with U.S. carriers, but the Star Alliance, any of those airline alliances, they're all kind of the code share. So a lot of times I'll end up on Virgin or British Airways, something like that. So it's not exclusive, I would say.
Certainly, obviously the big airports in the US are just incredible. The size of some of these places, particularly places like LAX and DFW, they are just enormous. Is that quite difficult? Are those airports quite difficult to navigate your way through, or you got them off to a T now?
No, it's always the same ones. So you end up figuring out the shortcuts and what train is quicker, and which gates are where, so you can kind of plan when you're still sitting on the airplane while everybody is deplaning. You can figure out how fast or slow you're going to have to run. So one huge difference between the U.S. and UK airports specifically is we tend to have the fast trains or some kind of underground system. So the whole walking from a Heathrow gate a mile and a half to reclaim your luggage is kind of unheard of in the U.S.
Yeah, I guess so. And I think we're getting better at it now. There's gradually more move towards sort of mass rapid transport, but it's got a long way to go. And it's something which the US have always done very well, I think.
Well, yeah, I think we just have the space. So when Denver International was built, it was built in the middle of a field. Dallas Fort Worth International was built in the middle of a field that was donated by Baylor University, I think. So they plan these airports out to just be in the middle of nowhere usually, and they have the ability to, do an underground system or just these mass transit systems, as opposed to here in Europe where they're usually quite close to a city.
Yeah, that's right. What are your favourite airports to fly in and out of, would you say?
I was really impressed by Oslo, and I can't remember which Oslo airport it was, but it was the one that had all the greenery, and it just, it was sort of from the movie Avatar. It was just, there was plants everywhere, and they were selling salmon and lox everywhere, and it was aesthetically pleasing. And then on the flip side of it, I've always really liked Pittsburgh Airport. It was the first one that had sort of that shopping center, right? And that layout with the X and the shopping center in the middle, that was always kind of struck me as one of my favorite airports.
Yeah, I like all the Scandinavian airports, actually. Stockholm, Arlanda, Copenhagen and Oslo. They're quite relaxing places to be, considering the size of them. I think they're actually really quite nice to be in.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. It's relaxing right before you jump on a long-haul flight.
Yeah, absolutely. And Pittsburgh was nice as well when we went over there last year for the first time. That was great. So what's the plans for the future? Any more long-haul sectors planned?
Oh, yeah. I fly probably 10 to 15 trips per year, both about 50-50 back long haul and short haul. So I don't know, without looking at my schedule, I think just the rest of this year I've got another 8 or 9 trips. I think 4 of those are back to the US. So yeah, just a little bit of everything.
And with the Star Alliance, do you get lots of points and opportunities for upgrade by using those at all?
We do. That's sometimes, so we don't have a choice in the booking, and they'll book you on a different airline, and you're trying to rack up points on American or Delta or BA or something, and you see your travel sort of your travel itinerary, and you see that they've booked you on something else, and you're just like, man, I was so close to platinum or something like that.
And you get bumped down to the next level for the next year or something.
Yeah.
Like that. Yeah. Well, it's been great talking to you, Armando. Thanks very much indeed for talking to me today.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure.
Find this and other great shows at the Aviation Media Network.
thevoicesinyourhead.com. The Plain Talking UK podcast is a voluntary project that aims to keep you informed with the latest aviation-related stories from newswires across the globe.
Producing our content does cost money though. If you enjoy our show, why not help us keep on the air by making a donation towards the server and website hosting fees through PayPal. Any contributions would be greatly appreciated.
Are you an Amazon user? If so, why not do your shopping through the link on our website? There's no cost to yourself, and Amazon pay us a small referral fee on qualifying purchases.
To find out more about the show and to meet the team, take yourself to our website www.plaintalkinguk.com,
or find us on Facebook at facebook.com/plaintalkinguk, on Twitter via @plaintalkinguk, or get in touch via email on podcast@plaintalkinguk.com. Thanks for listening.
Flybe 5823, Trent Dane for 23R Manchester, Wizz Air 6X, climb flight level 210, direct to Bretlands Park. United 123, maintain 280 knots. London 2TME, turn right onto Bravo, link 21, join Alpha, hold at Mora, Speedbird 472, LOC/DME, approach runway 27 left, follow the green stand 544.
That's enough air traffic control for today, Nat. Bedtime.
Have you ever wondered what it would be like to fly a commercial passenger jet? Looked up at the sky and thought, I wish that was me? Well, now anyone has the chance to have a go at flying in a real aircraft simulator. NP Simulations and Flight Experience London, the only official Boeing licensed product of its kind in the UK, offer you the chance to fly anywhere in the world in their fixed-base Boeing 737-800 flight simulator. And that's not all. Ground School London offers many different courses for the up-and-coming pilot looking for a start in aviation. With prices starting at just £109, the sky's the limit. So for the ultimate flight simulator experience, or engaging preparatory courses, including those for schools and colleges, check out the websites at www.london.flightexperience.co.uk and www.groundschoollondon.com, or call on 020 300 40 616. NP Simulations. Fly your dreams.
Well done, Nev, on another sterling performance.
As
Thank you
always,
very
of
much
course.
indeed.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
loved it, Nev.
Yeah, interesting chap to talk to him, wasn't it? And yeah, I think the I've got some more. Well, actually, no, I haven't got any more lined up for this week, so I need to record a couple. So
wow,
I'll be doing some later in the week, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. And as Nev said at the top of that, there, if anybody would like to feature in, if they're willing to have a chat with Nev to create, to basically have your own Nev's passenger experience, then please do get in touch with the show using our usual email address, which is podcast@planetalkinguk.com. That is podcast@planetalkinguk.com.
Yes, and hopefully we can see some of our listeners being grilled by.
Yeah, absolutely
Nev.
Grilled. Yeah, it's hardly a grilling now, is it? I mean, it's a polite conversation about aviation. Let's be honest.
Oh, very much so.
With the Jeremy Paxman.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah,
I give people quite an easy time.
Well, indeed, absolutely. So there we go.
No. Nev has even managed to interview my wifey wife Gemma for the passenger experience.
Absolutely. I still can't believe that was okayed, frankly. But there we are. We had a lot of fun at your expense. During
that was
actually,
good. That was good fun.
We had a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was good.
So we've got three little military news stories just for Jonathan Warner this week.
Right.
Just to put a smile on his face.
To keep him happy.
To keep him happy.
Absolutely.
So if everyone's ready, we're going to do a bit of military news.
Here we go.
So the first news story is on Flight Global this week, and slightly sad news if you're a fan of the Airbus A400M, which I think we've all seen and loved at the various air shows. So Airbus are to slash A400M assembly rate. So Airbus is to dramatically slow its final assembly rate for the A400M tactical transport from a high of 19 achieved in 2017 to only 8 per year from 2020, the company confirms this week. Production will be adjusted to 8 units per year as of 2020, following production of 15 A400Ms in 2018 and 11 units in 2019, Airbus has said. This adjustment is based on discussions with the launch customer nations, it says, adding that its defence and space unit will pursue export opportunities beyond this level. Airbus and 7 European customers for the Atlas transport signed a declaration of intent early in February, confirming their agreement to review a combined 170 unit order. This followed a lengthy effort by the manufacturer to ease what is described as the huge financial burden it was facing. A consequence of financial penalties linked to program delays and the late introduction of a promised tactical capabilities. Under its revised production schedule announced on the 7th of March, Airbus Defence and Space should end 2019 having delivered approximately 80 aircraft from the total of 174 A400Ms currently ordered, also including loan export by Malaysia. At the reduced rate of 8 per annum, it should take a further 12 years for it to complete the remaining aircraft, extending work into the early 2030s. The A400M rate announcement was made in conjunction with a move by Airbus's commercial arm to also slow its A380 output to 6 Super Jumbos per year from 2020. The combined measures will affect up to 3,700 jobs in France, Germany, Spain and the UK, the manufacturer has said. Airbus has to ensure the best possible production flow for its products. The company says these rate adjustment decisions provide clear visibility for customers, the supply chain and employees over the coming years. So it's sad to see, I suppose. Obviously, they're not stopping production, but they are quite dramatically slowing production of the 400M. I've been, as most of you know, I've been lucky enough to go on board one of these aircraft at Riyadh a few times, and they are pretty, really well put together aircraft, I think. Anyway, great to see the demonstration that these guys put on with these as well at the air shows.
That was the highlight of Farnborough for me. Was when they did that routine with the was it the A380, wasn't it? The A380 and the A400M.
Yeah.
I mean, it was absolutely it was award winning. Frankly, I really enjoyed it.
Have you had a chance to hop on board one of these, Nick, in your travels?
Military transport, not my cup of tea, really, quite honestly. I mean, I have to say I thought Airbus was pretty brave taking on a very long-established military transport like the Hercules, the C-130, and all its different variants, including the fact that the latest one is incredibly capable and very modern and still being built, the longest produced military aircraft in existence. So I'm not surprised it's struggling a little bit against that competition. However, it's always a shame to see what looks like an extremely capable aircraft being slowed. But I mean, they're still building it till 2030, and many other customers may emerge between now and then, so they can always boost up the production line if they need to. Also, nice to see that the 380 is still being produced as late as 2020, but I think that has proven to be a capable aircraft, but in the wrong environment. It's it's like it's like the woolly mammoth. It's going to die out.
Well, yes. I mean, everything has to come to an end, I don't think.
Even at that young age, which it is really still.
Don't the A380 and the A400 actually share a lot in common, don't they? They have the same fly envelope, I think, and performance-wise, I think, don't they?
Well, the 380 can do a Jondel. I don't know. I've never seen one do it.
I'm pretty certain I've seen some. I've read somewhere that I think they share pretty much the same flight envelope.
Interesting.
Someone can correct that, I think.
The chat room will soon pipe up, I expect.
I think some of the limitations on the 380 it might be a little bit more than the than the A400.
Should we find out? Oh, we've not got any coming anymore, have we?
No. Okay, good. So, Nev, do you want to take the next story?
Yes, I will. And just at that moment, my computer decided to do something funny. But don't worry, we're here now. Yes, another excellent piece of journalism in the Shropshire Star. And it says that a bird strike forces RAF Shawbury helicopter to land. I mean, there's always force, isn't it, in journalism? And it says a helicopter was forced to make a precautionary landing after being hit by a bird whilst on a training run. And the helicopter last night remained where it had landed as engineers assessed whether it had been damaged and the best way to get it back to RAF Shawbury. The spokesman for the MOD would not be drawn on where the incident had taken place in the country, but said that there was no risk to the public at any time during the incident. The spokesman said, "I can confirm that on Thursday, an unidentified bird flew into one of our helicopters. As safety is paramount in everything we do, the crew made a precautionary landing without incident. All air crew have standard operating procedures for incidents in the air, such as a bird strike, which were followed methodically. The crew of this helicopter are very experienced, and at no time was there any risk of injury to members of the public." They have to repeat it, don't they? Engineers are currently assessing the damage to the aircraft, and following their assessment will advise us how to safely recover the aircraft back to RAF Shawbury. Probably on the back of a trailer, I would imagine. There we go. Here's a quick question, though. I don't know if Nick knows the answer to that. Do the AAIB investigate RAF incidents and accidents, or is that an RAF investigation?
Well, unless things have changed since I was in the service, no. The service forms a court of inquiry, and that's chaired by usually a reasonably senior officer. And then they have experts from the engineering, the operation world of that aircraft, and various other members of the board, and they sit down and do the inquiry. It usually takes about 4 to 6 weeks. But this is, this is like you put down the field that you can usually cover this in a unit inquiry. So that's much smaller.
Actually, one of the things I was going to say was, when you look at the news stories and stuff on such sites as Aviation Herald or other news feeds, you see a lot of fixed-wing aircraft or commercial aircraft having bird strikes, but you don't tend to see a huge amount of bird strikes involving rotary aircraft or helicopters.
Well, you do, but normally they're hit from behind.
Silence there.
Yeah,
that's what she said.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah.
But moving on to the last story, and especially for the US listeners, this next one. And Nick, do you want to take this one?
This, aren't they?
Come on, Nick.
Oh, this is again my favourite newspaper, the Daily Mail, and this is great considering the revelations that the president has made about the savings that he made over AirForce One, all down to him, of course.
Of course.
And the headline says, revealed, the Pentagon is building a $250 million hangar to house the new $3.9 billion Air Force One fleet after Trump said he would keep the out-of-control costs down. So apparently President Trump has finally agreed the deal after initially saying that costs were out of control. The White House has said the new contract will save $1.4 billion. Now it has emerged that the new Boeing 747-8 will need new hangars. A general says they are wider and longer than current Air Force One planes. So they're going to build this new hangar. It's going to cost, a lot of money. The new facility will be Joint Base Andrews. Was announced less than 2 weeks after President Trump penned a $3.9 billion deal with Boeing for the two new planes. Yeah, when they call it a fleet, I mean a fleet of two. Yeah, okay. When he took office, the president said the costs of Air Force One were out of control, vowed to dramatically cut costs in the government investment in the scheme. Lots of nice pictures, and then a stupid video that's just self-started itself. Just to try and précis this, Lieutenant General Arnie Bunch, the Air Force's top uniformed acquisition official, said the current facility at Andrews in Maryland was not large enough to accommodate the new aircraft, which will be a modified Boeing 747-8. He told Aviation Leak the new aircraft is wider, longer, weighs more, so will need new hangar. Boeing's chief executive, Dennis Muhlenberg, met multiple times with Trump to discuss the Air Force One contract before the deal was finalized. 2011, Boeing agreed a $4.9 billion fixed price contract. Well, it obviously wasn't fixed enough since it's been reduced. Oh, no, that was for the refueling tanker. I'm sorry, the KC-46. Through late last year, cost overruns had reached about $2.9 billion on pre-tax costs. I mean, this is not a terribly jointed piece of writing. It's hard to work out where they're going.
Of course it's not.
It's not joined up at all. I mean, don't these people know how to be journalists? Obviously not. No. Do you really want me to carry on with this? I'm trying to read, see if there's anything of revelation. The 747s are designed to be an airborne White House, able to fly in worst-case security scenarios, such as nuclear war, and are modified with military avionics. advanced communications and self-defense systems. But I note that this one will be one of the first in recent history that won't be able to conduct air-to-air refueling.
Oh.
So why is that?
I don't know.
Because it's got such an awesome range, it doesn't need refueling.
I don't. Well, the other one, you could keep it in place for days, literally.
Yeah.
So what's wrong? I don't think it can fly for days.
Well, that's true. I don't, well, yes, exactly. I suppose, and the advantage about the air-to-air refueling thing, obviously, is that if for whatever reason he needed, the plane needed to be in the air for prolonged periods of time, somebody could come and top it up. If you see what I mean.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah. Some interesting bits here. The old one, the 747-200, had in-flight refueling, self-contained baggage loading, 2 galleys providing 100 meals in one sitting. Well, I'm just thinking that's not actually great because most airlines can feed like 200 or 300 at a go. So there you go. Capacity for 3,000 frozen meals to be held in chillers. Conference, executive dining room, self-contained office for the president, sitting area which converts into a bedroom for the president and a first lady, onboard hospital, offices for staff, crew rest, business class style cabin for reporters. Now the new one, the specifications still to be released, but extra floor area. Gobble, it's bigger, yes, of course. Top deck more than twice as long as the 747-200, which will mean more space for conference and rest areas. And the 747-8 can allow extra rest areas above the passenger floor at the rear, called the crown. Okay, fair enough. Interesting facts about the old one. Commissioned by Ronald Reagan, entered service in 1990, has carried Presidents George H.W. Bush, Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, and Barack Obama and Trump. They will fly the winner of the 2020 election, because, of course, the new one won't be out by then. Anyone been to the Museum of Flight at the Boeing dump in Seattle?
The say what now?
At the Museum of Flight. They've got the 707 AirForce One there.
Okay.
Oh. Absolutely brilliant. You can walk through the cabin. I did that. And they've got the little conference area there. And, of course, that was the one after the tragic shooting of JFK. Where the next president was sworn in. He was sworn in on board that 707. Wow. And it's just fascinating to look through and see the communications there, because they're like old Bakelite telephones and things, and there's a big red one with a big scramble button beside it. It's brilliant.
I know. I mean, you sort of don't really appreciate how much technology has moved on sometimes until you sort of go to something that really isn't, in aviation terms, necessarily that old, if you like. I mean, it's amazing how quickly things have moved on. In general,
and of course the hardest thing nowadays is because of microelectronics and the fact that all our devices use such tiny voltages. They're incredibly susceptible to the EMP, the electronic pulse that a nuclear weapon will release. So one of the things they have to do is to harden that aircraft, and I'm putting harden in inverted commas because it's not a physical hardening of the aircraft. It's not like armor, but they do have to protect all these circuits on board to be able to withstand EMP. And of course, in the old days when you had valves and thick, heavy wires, it was naturally resistant just because of the weight of the system. But nowadays with microelectronics, it's so easy to blow out a little circuit board or something. They have to put everything inside Faraday's cages and all this kind of stuff. So it's quite a bit of work to get that up and fit to be a mobile White House, that's for sure.
So earlier on today we had an email sent in to us here at PTUK.
We did.
From listener Jenny Parkinson. And Matt, what was that email all about?
Basically we received an email from Jenny in regard to an experience that her friend Diana had very recently, flying with I'm going to say this wrong, aren't I? Norwegian, sorry, here we go.
Hello, this is Jenny in Rome, and I'm talking to Diana, my friend and colleague, who's recently taken a flight from Rome to New York with Norwegian. And so overall, what did you think?
I was very pleased with the flight. I thought that the cabin itself was very comfortable. I found that there was a decent amount of leg room. The seats were comfortable enough.
Were you booked into the economy section? Or?
Yes. Yeah. And in terms of the flight experience itself, I really had no complaints whatsoever. I thought it was a really, really nice flight. I could feel the difference in the cabin pressure. I felt much less thirsty, if that makes sense. Usually when I fly any long-haul flights, mid-flight, I just am parched. And I feel it in my skin, I feel it in my throat. This time I felt great, I felt fine.
Oh, that's good.
Didn't feel nearly as tired when I landed. The only complaint that I had was the food.
Oh, what was that? What happened there?
Well, I paid extra to have meal service, and it was just terrible.
What did they give you?
On my flight out, it was lasagna. Sorry, not lasagna, ravioli. And it was inedible. Coming back, it was chicken and rice. The rice was very good. The chicken, again, was inedible. It was terrible. So I would definitely fly with them again, but I would not opt for the meal service. I would order a la carte. They've got panini that you can order through their in-flight entertainment service. So that's right in the screen in front of you. You scroll through, you see, everything they have available a la carte. You pay through that device. And within a few minutes, the flight attendant comes and delivers your order.
Oh, that's
so
quite
it's
good.
Actually, yeah, it's really efficient.
Good. And did you say you do your duty-free purchases if you're going to make any that way too?
Exactly. All through the same in-flight entertainment screen.
And what entertainment did they offer you?
Well, okay, so funnily enough, on my flight out, I wasn't thrilled with the selection of films. Coming back, the selection was much better. Flying back from New York, I don't know why. They had films that were nominated for Oscars, which were not available on my flight out. So coming back, I was very happy with the selection.
Okay, and price-wise, how does it compare with the flight you usually take?
I thought that price-wise, it was very competitive. I opted for the I don't remember what they called it, but I think it was the low cost plus or something like that. So for $90 more each way, I had a reserved seat, my meal, and one checked bag. And for that, it ended up being somewhat less than what I would have paid for a similar ticket on Alitalia. Now that being said, next time I fly with Norwegian, which I fully intend to do, I won't do the $90 supplement because, again, I was really unhappy with the food service. I would rather just, get a panini at the airport or, mid-flight. And I found that just me personally, I didn't need to check a bag. So that's another cost that I would avoid.
Right. Anyway, so overall you were pleased with it then?
I was very happy with it, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh dear. Nev, you have competition here. What's going on?
What's the point of this?
Yeah.
Chuck it away.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh God, thank you, Nev.
Great job.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, no, there we are. Thank you. It's
thanks, Jenny, for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's nice to have a sort of because we've been sort of wanting to get some feedback from Norwegian. Norwegian. Yeah, I know, but I'm not supposed to say Norwegian. I keep getting told off when I do that. So yeah, so we're hoping that. So it's good to have that. But yes, absolutely. So if you need a holiday, Nev, at any point.
Yeah, well, I was going to say I can take a hint.
No, not at all. Not at all. But to be fair, you don't know her friend Diana. Let's be honest. That's so yeah.
Apparently, stop press, everyone.
Okay.
Apparently, Neil Landwarn has ordered himself a PTUK T-shirt.
Has he?
Yeah. according to the chat room.
Oh, okay.
Well done, Neil.
The phone will be going nuts in a minute then. Yeah. That's very good. In fact, I can hear it going off now. So that is...
Yeah, thanks for that, Jenny, for that. And don't forget, if you do want to send us in some audio feedback and send it into the show, and Matt can put it and edit it all together and put it all lovely on the screen.
Absolutely. We would particularly like it if you are able to include some photos as well. That really helps, because then we can just sort of break it up a bit. Otherwise, it's just a splash screen, you know. Yeah. But, anyway.
So we have obviously got Mike, First Officer Mike, joining us on this week's show. And before we finish the show today, we're just going to have a quick chat with Mike and really about your career and sort of, well, basically how you got to where you are now.
What do you want to know?
Well, obviously you didn't just jump straight into the right seat of a Dreamliner.
Yes, I mean, obviously you're interested. I mean, in most cases, it's like, you know, people wanted to be pilots from the outset. How did your journey start? What was it that really that really had you hooked as far as aviation was concerned?
Probably when I realised I weren't going to be an electrician. I thought I needed to do a new career choice. My mum owned a hotel lighting company, and I was doing some work for her. First day of the job, and I lighted up the whole floor by fusing it all up wrong, blew all the lights, the sockets, you name it. And anyway, yeah. So I was invited not to come back the next day by my own mother, and then realised that a new career choice was needed. So it originally started with Grant. I went to LA once, and we hit an air pocket on approach, and it scared me. So I now don't like flying as a passenger. Don't tell anyone that.
Right. Okay.
And it scared me. So my granddad set me up with his friend Brian in his Cessna 152 in at Leeds Bradford Airport. Now Brian's a bit of the, you know, he's an interesting chap. We could make an whole show about him. You know, I probably couldn't say some of the stuff that he'd come out with because it is a family show. But it was, I don't know, maybe 30 minutes into my experience with him, and we just turned a left. I think we were over Halifax area, and Brian put the 152 into a nosedive and then faked a heart attack.
Oh.
So to get over fear of flying, as you could imagine, it quickly. So from there, it was just the bug kept going. And flight, which is at Leeds Bradford now, and we moved on to a Piper PA-28, and then from then it was just our building. So you work your way through the people, MEIRs, doing your CPL, and then I say you basically take all your ATPL examinations, and then from then I was scrolling through an airline in the Middle East. I was looking for flights to Australia. And I just came across an advanced entry system. They also did a cadet ab initio course at the same time. And so the guys who were advanced entry obviously joined the ab initio chaps as they were basically doing their type rating. Originally, we were supposed to go on to the A320s to start with. But long and short of it was that they didn't have any places for us on the 320s. So we were put on the A330s, hence why I don't like them. And from then, 2 years, so once you'd done your 1,500 hours and you'd received your full ATPL, once it had been unfrozen, then we were entitled to then to do the mixed fleet flying, or the CCQ qualification, cross crew qualification, which enabled us to fly the 330 and 340, which was good. From then on, I moved on to the 787 with said Middle Eastern company. I was on the entry into service crew with them, which was good fun. Really enjoyed that. We got to do some of the base training out of Alan, which is an airfield in the middle of the UAE, which was good. So we did base training. I'm not sure I can say that out loud on TV and on a podcast, what we did. But Nick will have an idea what we did.
Okay, right. We can all work it out from there. Yeah, okay, moving on.
Work it out from there, yeah. And then I joined my current company as they were advertising for a TFO position, which is a training first officer position. I did apply for British Airways. They turned me down. With an accent like this, obviously I'm not posh enough.
No,
no, quite
not
right.
called Nigel either.
No,
exactly, I'm not called Nigel. I don't wear boat shoes and deck shorts or whatever they're called. Dick shorts maybe, but and that is the. And then I said, well, I'll move on to the 787 with Acme Red, who are a fabulous company to work for. They are extremely good, and it's been the last 6 months have been even better because we've had downtime aircraft, so I've had plenty of time off as well. So one cannot complain.
So I know we have this running joke between various podcast hosts, shall we say,
really?
Where it's the Boeing and the Airbus like argument, for want of a better word. So I'm going to ask the fatal question here, which I dare say I'm going to regret. But I mean, you're well known for being an Airbus, for being a Boeing man. What is it for you that gives that the advantage, say, over an Airbus? Why is your passion and allegiances with them, say, over Airbus?
It's a better all round flying experience, pilot wise. Now, with the current company, we have a policy where it's a case if you see it and you fly it. So that means if you don't fancy any automation, you can turn it all off. Whereas in the previous company, a lot of it was auto throttle on. We weren't allowed to turn it off, and so on and so forth.
Mm.
Until recently, have I sort of enjoyed more of the 787 side of it, because it kind of gives you a truer feel of. Don't get me wrong, a 340 when flown correctly is a wonderful piece of machinery, but the way that technology goes now, you put the hood, it is a lot easier to be a bit more adventurous, let's say, with it.
Yeah.
You're kind of not having to adjust yourself as much as compared to the old A340s and A330s as such. So it is there. I will tell a little secret. I do like an A340.
Everyone cough really loudly. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, all good. So
actually, we've got a question from Tony S in the chat room for you, Mike. He said, "Would you recommend working for a Middle Eastern carrier?"
Yes and no. Make sure it's the right Middle Eastern carrier, and there's only one. In my opinion.
Okay, yeah.
No, fair enough.
I think I can probably guess that one.
yeah, absolutely.
And it's not the one you're thinking of either.
Really? Oh, okay. All right. Well, that's good. We won't delve into that any further. What's the obviously that so you've given us the background as to how you've ended up where you are, essentially. So, I mean, what's the dream for you? Is there somewhere else you would like to sort of go before your flying career ends?
Nope.
Fair enough.
I'm very happy where I am. I mean, I can't knock them for anything. They've been exceptionally good to me. Obviously working your way through to get your command is always one person's kind of end goal of it all. I don't fancy doing anything else in life. Quite happy where I am. I won't mind taking one of Nick's 85%, or Mr. 75% he is these days. I'll take his contract off him on his left seat when he retires. In 575 days, I'll be there.
He's being very well behaved at the moment.
Yeah,
I think
Nick,
he's gone for a drink.
Very quiet,
absolutely.
Nick.
He's gone for a drink, I think.
It's Mike's moment, mate. Let him have it.
Fair enough.
Oh, love it.
Okay, love it. Yeah. So it's so. I mean, obviously, we sort of asked this question as we do with all of the things while we're waiting for the old chat room to see if they've got any other questions that they'd like to ask you. Is there? I mean, presumably you've only really been obviously commercial. Is there anything in the military world that you would love to have sort of had a go of?
Must be joking.
Oh. Fair enough.
Christ almighty, not a chance. No, I mean, I listened to Nick's earlier on telling about his RAF, and he said, I can't remember the exact phrase that he said, but he says, "Oh well, if we have to go to war and we die, well, so be it." Well, I fancy me chances at staying alive until I'm slightly older.
Well, to be fair, in most conflicts that I was looking at, the entire UK would have been obliterated. At least I should have found a fighting chance of getting my own back on somebody.
Well, there is that.
Yeah, I've got a question actually, Mike. Now, I'm not quite sure why you're so cagey about naming past airlines. It's not like they're going to reprimand you anymore, is it?
No.
Okay,
No,
so
it's
go
not.
on then. Which is because I'm just curious. People ask me, what are good airlines to join? I'd love to hear your genuine opinion of which airline it was out there you would have encourage people to join.
I worked for Etihad.
Wow.
And they had a more sensible approach to rostering, let's say.
Okay.
Even though, I mean, as you well know, Nick, your bunk hours a month, whereas they are for us. So obviously, if you could end up doing some, 120, 130 hours a month. Emirates will always push the boundaries, and so we'll go air just over the road. I really wouldn't. If any people are asking for honest opinions, I know they're not hiring, and I know they're going through a lot of trouble. There are a lot of downsizing aircraft at the minute. But if you are looking, as I said, from a Ryanair, EasyJet, etc. point of view, to move to a Middle Eastern carrier, I would 10 times out of 10 say you need to be going to Etihad. They're the ones that are going to give you a sensible approach to life. And you are essentially going there to work as, you're going there essentially to work, but you also want a lifestyle as well. That's the word. Which sadly, Emirates and Qatar Airways, they can't offer you, I'm afraid.
No.
I know people will say, well, Emirates are fantastic. Emirates will work you to the bare bones. And if you want to live in Doha, be my guest, you might as well live in a bin for what it matters.
Yeah, indeed.
How about, no one ever talks about Kuwait Airways. What are they like?
Good question. I don't know. I know they've just had a couple of new aircraft. I saw one the other day, and we noticed it looked a bit shiny. But I don't think they're hire expats anymore.
They're not a big. Oh, okay, all right. I think
I could be wrong. I think it's the same with Gulf Air as well. They've downsized the way that they employ people now.
Okay. Yeah. Right. I don't have a lot of experience from that part of the world, so I'm just interested. Thanks.
A couple of comments from the chat room here. Barbara Parrish has actually said, "My goodness, Matt, the man is already living the dream. He flies a 787 for goodness sake." So that's me well and truly told off.
Dear Barbara, that's not a very high aiming point. I mean,
575 days.
If that's living the dream, really.
Oh dear. Richard King said he spoke with a chap this week in relation to what we were talking about a moment ago. Richard King was saying that he spoke to a chap this week who was flying for a Middle Eastern airline, and he wasn't complimentary at all. So it's thing. Jenny Parkinson said, interesting. Etihad apparently tried to revive Alitalia.
They did, yeah.
That's an interesting one, isn't it? It's
they've lost a fortune, haven't they?
Yeah.
It's flatlined. Right? There eventually you can put all the defibs on your light, but you can't bring it back when it's dying.
No, this is the thing, I suppose.
Alitalia is really past it.
It's a shame.
Yeah, it is a shame. It is a shame.
So we are going to ask, before we wrap up the show, we're just going to ask one more question, Mike and Nev. What's that question that we ask everyone, the pilots we have on the show?
It is the main question, and that is, if you could choose to fly any aircraft, either retired or current, what would it be?
Oh, I don't know. Good question. I've got two. Does that count? Am I allowed to have two?
We might allow that.
Yeah, we'll see. We're feeling generous.
My old granddad that sadly passed away in 2001, he flew the L1011 for Cathay for a number of years.
Dear.
So I think moving back and having a bit of a play on that would be fantastic. But I think every boy's dream. I'm
really sorry, Mike, but the grin that is now on my colleague's face here in the studio is just frankly nauseating as a result of that comment. But anyway, do carry on.
But then I think obviously every little boy's dream is to fly Concorde, isn't it?
Oh, of course it is. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah. This is the thing. I mean, I have no flying aspirations in any way, shape, or form, and I literally only get in an aeroplane because I have to. I don't enjoy it. I don't get any pleasure out of it. But even I would love to sit in the cockpit, not necessarily flying it. Obviously, I know my limitations, but even I would love to sit in the cockpit of a Concorde, and just sort of to be at the front end there while it's in the air. I know it was very pokey and all that kind of thing, but I still, and we say this every time the Concorde is mentioned. I still don't understand why Mac travel still doesn't exist. Do you know what I mean?
It's coming slowly.
Yeah.
You just thought. I mean, I was lucky that we went. Me and my granddad took me on Concorde. We went for a return trip to JFK. So I was lucky that I've been in it. But I wasn't even very young at the time, but I never really appreciated it. I wish I could do it again now and appreciate it more. Knowing the limitations of it. But yeah, it's right. Yeah, we're what now? When was the Concorde retired? 2003. We're now 15 years, and we're still only poking around at Mach 8.5, aren't we? It's going to take a while before we catch up, I think.
So that is where we're going to wrap up episode 207.
Yeah, we need to hurry up because we're like 2 hours and 22 minutes already.
We're going to say a massive thanks to everyone.
Like an APG.
Yeah, I know. This is what they're saying in the chat room here. It's just like we're on uncharted waters, ladies and gentlemen.
We're going to say a massive thanks to everyone who's joined us in the live chat room tonight. Armando Karen is in the chat room as well. Greetings to you.
Thank you very much, Armando. Yes.
Yeah. And but we are going to say thanks to everyone who has joined us and taken time out of their Friday evening or morning or afternoon, wherever you are in the world, to join us on the show. Don't forget, you can where can they find us, Matt, on the World Wide Web?
I have no idea. Right, no, so it's www.planetalkinguk.com. As was commented on earlier in the show, you can also buy fantastic T-shirts through the website.
Neil's brought one.
Neil has just brought
one.
Yeah, absolutely, a T-shirt from there. So it's www.planetalkinguk.com. You'll find us on Facebook. It's facebook.com/planetalkinguk. Our handle on Twitter is @planetalkinguk. And if you'd like to send us an email, please do so. If you'd like to take part in fact, actually, if you get on with it, you could feature in next week's Nev's Passenger Experience. So please make sure that you get any feedback into podcast@planetalkinguk.com. That's podcast@planetalkinguk.com.
And Neil Lanwarn, you are in the chat room and you have brought yourself a T-shirt. And if you could bung us an email, that would be good for a chat.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay.
A few things. So
splendid.
But yes, so we're going to say a massive thanks to our two guest hosts this evening.
Yeah.
So thanks, Captain Nick, for joining us. I know you.
Pleasure to be back on the show, guys. Thanks very much indeed.
I know you've been had a few hours sleep
to try and abuse Michael. I think
yeah, absolutely. You've all been very well behaved. Actually,
end very well.
Yeah, you've all behaved very well. I'm very proud of you both, actually.
Yes, thanks for coming on, Nick. It's always good to have you on the show.
You don't realise how much effort time.
Oh, that was convenient.
Yeah, that was a convenient dropout, wasn't it?
Oh dear! And before we lose Mike to that.
Indeed.
We're going to say a big thanks to First Officer Mike for joining us on this week's show. So thanks, Mike.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been very enjoyable.
A pleasure, and we'll have you on again soon if that's all right with you. That'd be great.
Yeah.
As long as I can get Al on next time, we can abuse his little Airbus next time.
Oh dear!
Put matters to rest there, I think, as well.
And
all right, you heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay. And we're also, as always, we're going to thank, especially thanks to Nev as well, as always, for joining us on the show this week, Nev. And thank you.
Yes, pleasure. And Matt and I have got a bit of a filming assignment
next week,
which is very top secret. We can't tell you about it.
But what it does mean, ladies,
we are nervously excited.
Yes, but what it does mean is that we're not 100% sure whether we're going to be doing a live show on Friday because we will be travelling back on Friday. So
I'll be on my own.
Yeah, you'll just do the show on your own, Carlos. It's fine. Yeah, okay. Or we could do it Saturday.
Okay. All right.
Keel services or something.
Indeed, absolutely. We'll pull over in a service station.
Excellent.
And I'll pop into the banana and we can we can do
it's exotic. You guys just know how to live, don't you?
Yeah, I know. We are essentially, as what I referred to earlier, as living the dream. Living the dream. So if you want to catch the live show, guys, then please make make sure that you follow our Facebook and Twitter feeds for when we're going to be broadcasting next. It's either going to be Friday or Saturday, depending on how things go.
And the other side of that wall there, just over to my right there, tomorrow morning, there'll be various drilling and soaring noises going on while the
Jonathan Warner says that's
built.
fine. He's working on Friday night, so Saturday is good with him. That's cool. Well, as long as Mr. Warner is happy, that's the main thing.
So that's it then, guys. That's where we're going to bring the show to a close. Massive thanks again to everyone who's joined us.
Part of me wants to keep going now for another 4 minutes because we're nearly at the 2.5.
And also, not forgetting as well, everyone who downloads the show in an audio form through iTunes and all the various podcast platforms. Thanks to you guys as well for listening to us. Don't forget, send us your feedback. We really, really, really do want to get some feedback from some of you listeners about what matters to you in the world of aviation.
The world of aviation is concerned.
Send your emails in.
Jonathan Warner is not allowed to because we all know what he's obsessed by, that is obviously those grey things. So that's fine. But yes, please send them to podcast@planetalkinguk.com. Podcast@planetalkinguk. And one final plug, please, to appear on Nev's Passenger Experience. Podcast@planetalkinguk.com.
Oh, and before we go, I mean, where can people find you, Nick, on this other amazing show that's broadcast somewhere in the world?
Oh, I try and hide my light under a bushel, but you can find me on Facebook, and I'm just there as me.
Yeah, right.
And the show, though, you're really interested in. We've got a website, airlinepilotguide.com. On Facebook, Facebook normal intro and Airline Pilot Guy, and you can tweet to us at APG Crew.
Indeed. That is the way forward. So
I've got Hillel in a cupboard here, if I can just wake him up. Do you want me to?
Oh, God.
Hello! He's just jumped out the bloody window.
Well, honestly, you just can't get the staff. It's terrible.
That's all them HI11E ones and things.
Indeed. So that is where we bring the show to a close, guys. Thank you very much for watching and listening, as always. There would be no point if you weren't doing that. Otherwise, we'd just be talking to ourselves, frankly. Many of people sat around this table. That wouldn't be a problem, obviously. But it's nice to know that we do have an amazing audience, and you guys are absolutely amazing. So that is where we bring the show to a close. From all of us here
have a great weekend,
the world,
everyone.
Everybody say goodbye.
Bye, everyone.